Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Director Watch, an AwardsWatch podcast that attempts to get inside the mind of cinema's greatest auteurs, explore what drives them, and maybe we go on a few unrelated tangents along the way. I'm Ryan McQuade, the executive editor here at AwardsWatch, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Jay Ledbetter.
Ryan, podcasting is my art, and I'm about to paint my masterpiece. Nice. We're talking Man on Fire. Wow, This is a big one, huh?
Yeah, this is Scorcher.
A cable classic?
Yeah. We did establish that, though. I got yelled at about saying that it might be one of those, and then you're like, I think it's a little bit better than that. And then I'm like, well, what can it be both?
It can be that and more. You're right.
It can be both. Yeah. Both. See, I can say
Movies
the word
can
both.
Contain multitudes.
Yeah. It can. This movie, this is a big one. I think this is a big one. Like, honestly, I know that we said that with Crimson Tide a couple weeks ago.
Top Gun is
and Top Gun,
big one.
I think that this is another big one. I think
for
our generation, this is a pretty big one.
I'm going to go and say, you know, one that we kind of underrated as a big one is probably True Romance. That one's huge.
Yeah. This is huge.
But this is a big one.
When I think, I'm just going to lay this on the table. When I think of action star Denzel Washington, I think of Man on Fire. I think of him in this, which is incredible.
Not him equalizing?
You see, not him Magnificent Sevening.
Not Ricochet?
Not Ricochet. No, I need to watch Ricochet.
You got to watch Ricochet.
I got to watch it.
So good.
He's not Pelican Briefing. Was Pelican Brief an action movie?
No, that's a political.
No, that's a political thriller. Is that Pakula?
That is Pakula.
Wow, Pakula's great. We should do Pakula on the show. That'd be pretty cool. But anyway, Man on Fire. It's a big ep, so we had to have a good guest on, pretty big guest on, one of our favorite people on. That's never been on the show before. He's never been on Director Watch before.
Oh, it's weird.
Yeah, we've never had this guest on. Just going to keep kind of just teasing it until it's announced. But it's
Ridley Scott.
It's Ridley Scott. We got him back, baby. No, and it's not Cormac McCarthy either, because you think that he's alive as well. No, it's our friend. He's the editor-in-chief over at InSession Film, and he's the host of Pop Culture Case Study. It's Dave Giannini. Dave, welcome to Director Watch.
Hey guys, it's finally happening, and
the show is over now.
Yeah, we're done now. I'll take the bullet. The reason I haven't been on this show is because of my schedule, not because of Ryan and Jay's lack of trying. They have been very
Mr.
generous.
Modesty over here.
We've been on his show. But... he's refused to come on our show.
Well, you've been on my show, right?
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, Ryan. Okay, Ryan could cancel.
Now I'm going to play like, ooh, my calendar's full for like the next 6 months.
I know you've been waiting.
To be fair, I have already changed my film.
You have. You've already been difficult, but I can't really complain. So
honestly,
here we are.
I might change it again.
Okay.
Just because the movie I changed to and I picked and I went, ooh, I don't know if I actually want to talk about this with Dave on his show. So that email's incoming.
That's fine. Just send a text. Time. I don't read my emails.
Well,
just send a text.
Actually, I'm going to send carrier pigeon to your house, and
it's fine.
Everything.
It'll be the day we were supposed to record.
Well, I talked with Dave on his pod about The Nice Guys, which Shane Black film. Obviously, we've talked about Shane Black on the Tony Scott series. So
Last Boy Scout.
If you want some connective tissue? Go check
Dave,
that out.
Dave, do you like The Last Boy Scout? Have you seen that one?
You know, I don't think I have seen that in well over a decade. I mean, I think I watched it, because when did that come out? 91? Yeah, I probably watched it 93, 95. So like that version of Dave, like a sophomore in high school, liked that movie a lot.
You were a sophomore in high school in
95?
95?
Yes, sir.
How the fuck old
Graduated
are you?
in 97. Yes, sir. So that version, that immature version of me, like that movie a lot. That's one maybe I should rewatch.
So sophomore, I would say sophomore high school Dave is probably about 32-year-old Jay level. So you probably liked it then.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you'd like it now. But,
I was like, maturity level has changed in that time period.
Hey, look, been married, divorced, married again. I've got, I've some growth.
That's the most last Boy Scout arc anyone could have.
Honestly, that's fair. That's fair.
Yes.
Just throwing in some inappropriate jokes and Dave's been right.
Scout.
There you go.
But I do feel very honored that you had me on for this movie.
Yeah.
In this month, because you led in. This is a big one. This might be his best movie.
That's what we're here to discuss today. I think, Dave.
We'll find out.
I think we're going to find out. But I got to ask you some questions.
Okay.
First, David, go back to your given name for your nickname.
Yeah, it's very serious.
Yeah, it's very serious. These are serious questions. These are the questions I ask everyone before we get into the movie, before we get on to Man on Fire and discuss its placement in the filmography of Tony Scott. I got to get your overall feelings on the man that we're talking about, which is Tony Scott. And what do you like about him? What you don't like about him? Films that you do love? Maybe a style that you admire, maybe you don't. And then, Dave, I've got to ask you the big question that I've asked everybody else.
Okay.
Which is, you only get one filmography to select. So which is it? Is it the filmography of the Riddler, Ridley Scott? Or, as we've named him, are you picking the filmography of the tone setter, Tony Scott?
Nice. I don't know if this is a hot take, but it's Tony. And
it's not a hot take on this show.
It's certainly not a hot take on the Tony Scott
series.
Yeah, it's the thing about Tony Scott versus Ridley Scott is Ridley Scott, I think most people would agree, has higher highs. Like, he's made better movies overall than Tony Scott has, but his lows are also much lower. If you took the average of all of them, Tony, it's in a wash. Like he kills Ridley in this.
He's got a great
Tony
ERA.
For sure.
His batting average, is elite.
His batting average is incredible. I mean, to me, I think there's only one Tony Scott movie I haven't seen, which is Revenge.
Oh, you gotta watch that.
You gotta watch Revenge.
I vouch for that one so hard.
Yeah.
And the only one of his movies I don't like is Domino. Other than that, we're talking 3.5. We're talking about 3.5 to 5 stars across the board. Another one of his movies that I would not have minded being on here for, that might surprise people, is Unstoppable. Unstoppable is a great action flick. That is, oh my God, fantastic stuff. So kind of anytime you put on a Tony Scott movie, you're going to have a good time. Like this is like, granted, like these are not movies that are, it's weird to be on a show like this, but he's not going to win a bunch of awards. That's not the type of movie he's
Well, that's
making.
not what we're here for today, Dave. We're not here for awards. We're here to talk about directors. That's just the site that we put this.
But
we
definitely don't have like
listened
an entire
to your
section
show.
of the show devoted
we don't have like a game that we're going to play in the back half before we get out of here about awards. We're not going to do it. What is that? What do you think we are? AwardsWatch or some shit like that? Get out of here. Come on.
Yeah. But I kind of like that that he's very frenetic as a director. He takes big swings. Like, whether you love him or hate him, there doesn't seem to be a lot of people who are just like, he's okay. You're going to get some pretty extreme reactions because he takes big swings. And I respect the hell out of Tony Scott, even if I'm watching a movie where I'm like, I don't know if I would do that. That doesn't quite work. But I like the fact that you are never bored. And he also manages to get very good performances in movies you wouldn't expect. And some of that, of course, is casting. You cast Denzel Washington, who is probably the greatest actor of our generation. You're going to get good performances, like a lot. So, and honestly, in terms of what I don't like about Tony Scott, it's kind of similar to the things I do like about him. When he takes big swings and they miss, I'm like, man, this guy, Jesus Christ. But when they hit, you're like, okay, I'm back in. And I don't, even Domino, a movie I don't like, that's not a movie that has no redeeming qualities. There are things that I like about it.
That's his swingingest movie.
Right. Yes, for sure. There's nothing in his filmography where I can say like this is pure garbage. This is terrible. 0 stars if I could give it. You're not going to find it because if you engage with it on the level that he's coming at you with, you're going to end up having a good time, even if it's like mildly against your will. You're going to have some fun. So I love Tony Scott. Tony Scott's one of my favorite directors. It actually is perfect that I am finally on this show for Tony Scott month because I get to just talk about how great he is. So yes, Tony Scott, better than Ridley Scott, not close. No matter how long Ridley keeps making movies, it's still going to be Tony Scott.
I'm worried so much about Gladiator. Not just from the standpoint
The sequel,
of like,
you mean?
yeah, the Gladiator 2. I mean, yeah, Gladiator coming out this year. I've seen the original Gladiator. I think it's a good picture. Good picture.
Yeah, it's a really underseen
because it feels like, well, no, but just because like, I don't know. And I know this is getting a little inside baseball outside of the pocket, but that's what the show is. It just feels like we don't have a lot of big movies this year and we need a movie like that to be really good. And that movie actually, the quality of that movie matters.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I think for people to go see that movie, it needs good reviews and it needs good word of mouth. Like, that's one where it needs it. It's not like like a Pixar movie or an Illumination thing or a Marvel movie where it's like, well, we know what's going to do there. Like, the brand speaks for itself. But yeah, and it doesn't have Crow, so it has Paul Mescal, it has Denzel, it has Pedro Pascal. Like, it's got the bones and the cast and everything of what you could need. It's just, does it have the actual goods itself? And if it does, like, we kind of need something like that to really hit. And
doesn't it seem like a weird movie for Paul Mescal? Like,
no, it feels like a great test for him. Honestly,
yeah, but
feels
you
like
said
a perfect test.
You said it. It's a test. This is not a thing where you're like, oh yeah, this will work. Russell Crowe being Gladiator, if you had seen his previous films, especially the ones not made in the United States, you're like, okay, this guy can do that. No, I had no question about it. Paul Mescal, who I like as an actor very much, this is a very different kind of role for him.
Yeah,
and
but who's the Russell Crowe of 2024? He
feels like
exist.
it. No, he doesn't, but he could be it.
No,
right? Because like,
I hope so.
I mean, like, Crow's riding high off of The Insider out before he does
Whereas
that.
Mescal is riding high off of
an Oscar nomination from After Sun and working on All of Us Strangers, and now, you know, he's working on some other smaller films.
Very different stuff.
Yeah, so this is the potential to work at the big level and then be able to kind of balance it out. You know what I mean?
No, I like Mescal a lot.
I like him too. I'm
hoping it works.
I'm hoping he's.
And apparently he's going to be playing Paul.
Well, God, Paul playing Paul.
Yes.
I got to tell you, that might be the stupidest idea anyone has ever done. And the fact that it's
good,
it won't be good.
Is it stupider than Yesterday?
Yes.
I actually disagree with that. Yesterday is far
I,
stupider.
I think I would be much more interested in this if it wasn't Sam Mendes.
Well, that's true of most things Sam Mendes does.
But you're asking me, like, do I want to go watch a Beatles kind of paint by numbers safe? We were talking about this beforehand.
No, I'll give this to Mendes. Mendes is not going to make it he's not going to make Bohemian Rhapsody.
No, but he ain't going to make Oppenheimer, or he ain't going to make Malcolm X, or he ain't going to make Love and Mercy, or
he's a tweener.
He's in between where it's like, I don't want you to actually touch this. Like, you're not the right person. At Dave's point, before we started recording,
he's not my last choice.
He's not my 100th choice at this point. Like, dude does not have a good batting average for me.
Well, Ryan, keep talking. You're about to talk about something really great that I said. So please.
Well, Dave was saying beforehand, if you want someone to make a biopic, you either really need someone that's like top of their game, great, capital A, great, you know what I mean? Or you need maybe someone that's kind of bad, because then they have a chance to swing for the fences. Like,
can Mendes at least get Deakins to do the Beatles movies? That'd be good.
That would be okay, but I mean, Denis Villeneuve can get Deakins to do anything.
But it'll be a good-looking bad movie. That's great.
No,
it'll be Empire of Light, anymore. And it'll be wonderful. You know what I mean? Like it'll be it'll be Spectre. That movie looks great, and then the movie is like, what the fuck?
Well, Ryan, what if it's Skyfall?
Oh man, it's too hard. Don't do that.
And it's got some good flicks.
Or Road to Perdition. Those are the two I really like.
People love 1917.
I hate that movie.
I don't hate it. I'd find it
freaking video game gimmick crap. You know what I mean? Yeah. Dave's got takes on there that it's hotter than mine. I mean, like,
not me. Everyone loves me. What are you
talking about? Yeah. But if I talked about cartoons, if I talked about anime films,
are those really movies? Do those?
Well, they're the only things keeping movie theaters alive.
It's true. God bless Inside Out 2 and soon
Minions.
Minions
Despicable
8 or whatever.
Me 4.
Like it's just gonna prop up the entire industry.
Dave, actually, before we get into Man on Fire, I have a real question. This is a very serious question.
All right, I'm ready.
Would you in real life be Denzel Washington's character in this movie going after the execs that greenlit Paddington 3? Would you?
I think he's going light on him. Yeah.
Dave, can I seriously? I feel like this is a bit from you all the time, much to the line of when I was not a big Cameron fan, but now I really love Big Jim. Do you really hate these Paddington movies, or is this just the longest great bit that I've got to see on the internet?
It's I almost don't want to tell the truth. It's somewhere in between. So here is my issue with Paddington.
Is it the fandom?
Kind of.
Okay.
So what it's really about is when Paddington 2 came out and all these idiots online, I'm talking to all of you listening who were like, that was the best movie I've seen in 9 years. It should win Best Picture. And I was like, no, it shouldn't. It is a very good movie for babies. It is a very good children's movie, and there's nothing wrong with it being that. There's a lot of really bad kids movies. That's a really good one. But let's not pretend that this is the best movie of the decade. That's silly. Stop being silly and watch movies for adults. That's where it comes from. And my version of that is Paddington sucks because it gets a reaction and that tickles me. So that's really what it's about. Do I think it's a terrible movie? No. Do I think it's a great movie? No. And you all need to calm down.
Okay.
I think Paddington 2 is quite good.
But I'm sure you do. But really you were getting ready to be a parent. You were like just prime.
Well, I mean, like I was actually sort of on your side where I was like, oh my God, Paddington fandom is one of the most annoying things.
And then you watched them again.
And then I rewatched it and I was like,
just imagine rewatching a Paddington movie. Couldn't be me.
I mean, like, to be fair, Dave, I had him in my top 20, the second one. In my top 20 for 2018. I didn't have it in my top 10.
Yeah, we'll make bad choices.
But I think honestly, like I equate it to like Babe. Like they're kind of like not like
Babe, Babe rocks.
They're great movies that are also very genuine.
Those are very comparable.
Yeah. They're very genuine movies. And I don't think
you know what
and they are great.
I'm not gonna agree with you. So.
I know you're not, but I'm just saying like I think that, you know, you can look at them like you through cynical eyes.
Yeah.
And
also,
and they can just be
John Creasy sort of the Paddington of 2004.
I mean, Creasy Bear.
That's what we need to talk
Creasy
about.
Bear.
Yes.
Creasy Bear, baby.
Connection there. Yeah.
Creasy Bear is a psychopath.
Look, if Paddington acted like that, Dave is in. Dave is 100% in.
Get Paul King out of there, and then put the Tony Scott in there. There
if Paddington goes to prison and wrecks shop.
Paddington 3.
I mean, what? So basically, you want him to like do the raid in person.
Yes, that sounds awesome. What are you talking about?
Right, in like Cell Block 99 or whatever that thing was from. With Vince Vaughn or whatever.
Yes,
shit.
Exactly. Yeah. Doesn't that sound awesome?
This sounds like that meme or what that the thing online, the prompt of like take one like you can keep one character, but the rest of them are the Muppets.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is like your kind of thing there, and I kind of I love it.
I'm down.
Okay, Man on Fire. Let's talk about it. Let's move. We've kind of circled around it, but 2004, directed by Tony Scott, starring Denzel Washington, Dakota Fanning, Walken, Mark Anthony, Mickey Rourke. It's great cast, all in all. Dave, we brought you on here again. Big movie, big action movie at the time. I mean, it was sort of a moderate hit, but I think like what we were alluding to is that it has had attraction on cable television for 20 years now. And
these things used to be allowed to.
Yeah. The way, I mean, this thing was a rentable blockbuster machine. You know what I mean?
Classic.
Cable classic. And I think over time it is elevated to the point where many consider it to be an upper echelon film in the filmography of Tony Scott. So, Dave, we brought you on here. You got to deliver the goods. What do you love about Man on Fire?
Are you kidding? What don't I love about Man on Fire?
Well, you can start with that. No, I'm just kidding.
This movie rules. This is so good. This is, I think you mentioned, like, you know, when you think of Denzel as an action star, I was dying to make a virtuosity joke, but I just had to let you keep talking. But this is it. This is as good as it gets. I mean, this might be one of my favorite action movies, period.
Yeah.
Like, you know, this is up there with Die Hard. Like, this is greatness personified in an action film, because not only is the action great and well filmed and visceral, but you have especially two great actors on screen giving a little bit more heft than most action films do. Like I said, when you've got Denzel and you've got, you know, baby Dakota Fanning absolutely killing it in this movie.
Straight up one of the great child performances in history, in my opinion.
And we've talked about this. I hate kid performances in general, but she's legitimately great here. It's one of those child performances that if you don't like her or you're not affected by her relationship with Creasy, like, something is deeply wrong with you. And this is me saying that. Someone who hates kid performances. Yeah,
that's actually funny because we were talking about Nice Guys.
Like,
yeah.
We
talked about Nice Guys, and now this, where I'm like,
these are two great.
Kind of steal it.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, you have. Was this maybe the last time? Was this right before Christopher Walken became a complete like joke of himself? Like, it's there a little bit. It's there, but he's still kind of enjoyable here.
Dave, you brought up a great point. This is a point that actually was brought up in my house when I was watching this movie. I think also when I was watching True Romance too. When was the time? Jay, pull up his filmography for me if you can. When Walken started becoming the joke that, not to say that the man is a joke. I think he's a wonderful actor. But it seems like a generation just started thinking like the impression is much more important than the actual actor. And when he started leaning into maybe the caricature a little bit at times, I'm thinking it's around this era.
So I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it now, and look, he had already started to lean into it a little bit in stuff like Kangaroo Jack, for example, perhaps. Joe Dirt, you know, he's leaning into it. But also in between Joe Dirt and this, you've got stuff like Catch Me If You Can, which is one of his best performances.
2 mice in a bucket of cream.
But then I would say a couple years after this, even in the Tony Scott film, the year after this, in Domino, he's leaning into it a little bit. And then it's stuff like Balls of Fury, Hairspray.
The Rundown was a movie I remember with The Rock that he was very.
That was the year before this.
Yeah. He's playing like the villain in it, so he has to be big. You know what I mean?
Right. And, but then it's truly not even just like I'm going to be big. It's like I'm going to be Christopher Walken.
I'm not going to be the character. I'm going to be the Walken. You know what I mean?
It really is kind of after this for a while, and he's still doing some like cheapo action films where he's sort of trying to recapture some of that King of New York energy or something. But it does feel a little half-hearted for a long time. It's his filmography not super pristine post Man on Fire.
I
I will
gotta.
say that.
The other thing I think that factors into Walken too, because he's a big staple as one of the more predominant hosts, is Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
I think Saturday Night Live, him doing like the Continental and all, and I got a fever,
More
and the
cowbell.
only
Yeah,
more
more
cowbell,
cowbell.
you know what I
Yep.
mean, and stuff like that. Like
And
that's
the
such
Fatboy
a
Slim stuff, and
yeah. It
like,
becomes
all that.
he becomes more of. And they did literally a sketch, like I think a couple of years ago, where it was everyone in the cast doing a walk-in impression, like it was a family reunion, and so like it becomes. I mean, that's great, but then also they did the same one with like Sandler, and Sandler really leaned into that as well too, of like, hey, I'm the Adam Sandler, and now he's trying to get away with that. It seems like a lot with him doing a lot of more dramatic roles.
Walken got sucked into the Sandler verse.
Yeah, he did too. Yeah, he was in Click. Yeah.
That's right.
Plays the man in Not Bad, Not Bath, but Beyond.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Jeez.
That is
When are you covering that? A real classic.
Stupid movie. Honestly, one of the stupidest movies. It turns into like It's a Wonderful Life, right?
Yes.
Like with the
It does
TV
try
remote.
to take like a weirdly serious turn near
It
the
gets-
end. Yeah.
Like that movie gets so serious to the point in which like it has Adam Sandler literally like turn into It's a Wonderful Life, almost Godfather 3-esque, in his body, and literally goes through his heart attack. And when he dies, he's back in that IKEA or that Bed Bath and Beyond or whatever, and he's just like, well, don't pick up that remote. I'm gonna just keep going. It's like the longest nightmare ever. It's just
So
stupid.
weird.
So stupid. Anyway, but no, you were saying about I agree with you. Walken's great here in this movie.
Yeah, and I think he's weirdly necessary too, because we need, other than the kid, we need Creasy to have a friend. We need to have a connection to something, because otherwise it's, instead of an action movie, it's a Western. It's like the strong, silent, like, I have no friends. There's no one who can connect with me. When you have them engage and kind of talk about their past and things that they've gone through, even in a stunted way, you're like, oh, this is like an actual real human being. This is someone who has actually lived a life, not just action star Denzel, but someone with a little bit of depth. And I like seeing them interact, and I like Denzel laughing at his jokes, like just actually being a human. Like, oh, and I think there's a comfort there in the character that, oh, this is someone who knew me, so I don't have to pretend to be better. I don't have to pretend to not be an alcoholic. I don't have to pretend that everything is fine. He knows me and I know him. And it's done so quickly. It's like within 2 minutes of the two of them talking, you're like, oh, I actually have a complete picture of what this relationship is, even if I don't get to see it, which is pretty impressive stuff. Especially the screenplay, Brian Helgeland. Like, I think it's actually a shockingly tight screenplay for a big bursting action movie.
I agree. J-Dog,
Yeah,
this is a big one, buddy.
it is.
I've seen your letterbox review of this. You've talked to me about this already ahead of time.
Yeah, bad. Don't like it.
Well, I mean, if
Well,
you want
let's
to
bring it up.
if you
Let's
want to
bring
go
up the
down that
review.
route, I mean, you can. No, Jay, I know you really like this one. So give me your thoughts on Man on Fire.
Yeah, well, I think let's talk about sort of the origins of Man on Fire first. I think there's a lot of interesting behind the scenes stuff and some little extracurricular research I've done on this one. So the original plan for this was actually for this to be Tony Scott's follow-up to The Hunger. This was supposed to be his second movie. He
Whoa.
loved the book and was all about adapting this for the big screen. And then The Hunger came out and it made no money, so he didn't get to do that.
Fair.
And then have either of y'all seen the original Man on Fire film from 1987?
I knew
From
it existed.
Scott Glenn,
but,
right?
Scott Glenn. I watched it. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
How'd that go?
honestly, it's not bad at all. The cast is like weirdly stacked. It's got Jonathan Pryce, Joe Pesci's in it. Scott Glenn is pretty good. It does take place in Italy like the original novel does. It's not nearly as stylish as Tony Scott's Man on Fire, needless to say. But I found it effective enough. I mean, that's what it is. It's like I didn't have a bad time watching this, but then Tony Scott came around and that movie just ceased to exist. Right. I mean, it just you can't watch it anymore. It's illegal because Denzel's Man on Fire came out.
Poor Scott Glenn just getting like, getting tossed aside.
No, he's good in it. He's good.
Does that mean when the television series with Yaya comes out, this becomes irrelevant?
Absolutely not. Well, okay, I'll tell you one thing about the 87 Man on Fire that is kind of interesting. It's very saccharine in a weird way. It's got kind of sort of a soapy tone to it, at least in the first half. And then it turns into it's honestly lacking in kind of the action department, interestingly.
I can see a story like this being overly sweet, and this could go wrong in that way. There
are a couple of scenes in this movie that are kind of like teetering on the edge of
it's like,
they have this miraculous balancing act.
But when you have Denzel and Dakota, it's okay.
I think it's
exactly.
I mean, you have the movie star of a generation, like Dave said. It's pretty.
If you're not moved by that swim meet, I'm sorry. Like, how could you not be?
This is I think
so wonderful.
Yeah, this is like a movie about like this. There's very few movies where you watch it and you're like, I gotta test to see if you're a human being.
It's the barometer. Right? It's a barometer movie, 100%.
Big time. Anyway, sorry, Jay. Didn't mean to interrupt.
No, but I mean, it was in semi-active development, and Creasy in the 80s was going to be Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
Damn.
And Reborn, Tony Scott reached out to Marlon Brando.
Yeah.
And Marlon Brando said, I don't think I'm in shape for that. But
yes. And I heard like Gene Hackman also considered.
Hackman was in consideration.
Which that one I would actually prefer over De Niro.
Shit.
Like,
that would have been
great. He'd be great. Not as great as Denzel, but I think it would be a really excellent
man. Hackman and Scott, that would have been, I mean, we already know that works, but holy shit, that would have been really good.
And then the other sort of fun thing about the development of the movie is that there's a quasi-legendary story about the screenwriter, Brian Helgeland. He went into a video store in Los Angeles, a video store by the name of Video Archive.
I wish you all could see this video because the smirk on Jay's face, like he's ready to drop a hammer right now.
It's not even that much of a hammer, but Video Archive, of course, the video store that one Quentin Tarantino worked on when he was a young man, and Brian Helgeland asked him, "Hey, can you recommend like an action movie for me?" And he specifically recommended 1987's Man on Fire to him, and then that sort of stuck in his craw for a while. He goes on to write L.A. Confidential, a masterpiece, Mystic River. Scott likes Mystic River, reached out to him to write Man on Fire, and the rest is kind of history. And as far as the casting is concerned, the way that Tony Scott tells it, and let me tell you this. So where do you guys stand on director commentaries in general? Do you...
I think I like the idea of them more than I like them.
Jay, asking the right questions.
Too. But so what I've discovered recently, there are podcast feeds that have just the audio of director's commentaries. That I dig.
Yeah.
I have a hard time watching the director's commentary over the actual movie when I'm like, I could actually be watching a movie.
It's got to be a movie I've seen a lot where I know all the beats and or GDT does it because Del Toro does phenomenal commentary. Fincher too. Yeah.
Fincher.
There are good ones, but even then, I'm like, will you shut up for a second? The Zodiac Killer's on screen.
Well, I mean, that sounds like a Jay issue because you made the choice.
It's like, can't you see I'm watching Gone Girl, you selfish bastard? Shut up.
But in your defense, there are a lot of bad director commentaries. They're just boring or tedious. They're not that interesting. There's an art form to it. You watch the Lord of the Rings commentaries. Now, those are incredible, but some not so much.
Jackson's incredibly detailed in those damn things. It's because it's honestly though it depends. I think for me, Jay, to answer your question, it depends on the project because like if it's like what's a just middle of the road kind of movie, if it's from John Krasinski. You know what I mean? Like I could give a rat's ass what he has to think about that. But if it's like George Miller talking about making Fury Road and making those certain sequences, I've seen Fury Road dozens of times. Honestly, that's kind of a terrible movie as an example because there's not a lot of dialogue. So
I was going to say that's
he can add that in there, but that's the kind of the perfect one to be honest. But like, let's say it's The Social Network, right? And hearing Fincher and Sorkin talk about it, it's like I really want to watch that movie, but also there's a delicate balance to making a movie like that and hearing him talk about it, and or Jackson having to create this giant 3-film epic or things like that. Like I think that those are really interesting, though they're becoming more rare and rare because DVDs just don't put commentary. So we have more behind the scenes like videos, like 30-minute, 40-minute behind the scenes makings,
right.
Which I actually I'm okay with those big time. And just give me the fucking movie. I don't need the
I love a commentary in audio form. If I watched the movie yesterday and then you just play over what I had seen yesterday and it's fresh in my mind, I love it.
Honestly, though, no, but I mean, like, isn't that like kind of like, I mean, it's perfect for podcasting because then you can just be like, like someone's watching Man on Fire here today and then listens to our show, as they just talked about it. So yeah, that kind of makes sense. I didn't know that was actually a thing. So now, like most Jay's things, he's gonna put me down a damn rabbit hole. He does this. He has done this for. Oh my God, the posters. Who
Dave?
Who could have done that? I knew it was you.
Right here.
Damn Giannini coming back. I mean, I got this beautiful Ocean's 11 poster coming.
Dave, you seen that Uncut Gems one that just came out?
I have. There's my hot take. Uncut Gems, not that good.
Oh, great
it's
film.
Just a mediocre movie.
I got that print. Great print.
I haven't seen that movie since it came out, but
you're good.
Great film.
That take has come back though. Times. Like no, Dave's kind of becoming more in the majority because people
I said that
it's
when
IMAX
it came out.
Release.
I didn't like it then. I don't like it now.
Oh, okay. Well, at least you're consistent. I gotta rewatch it.
Great film. Anyway, okay. So
you think the Safdies are ever going to make another movie again?
No.
Oh, they're together?
Yeah. What's more likely, the Safdie brothers making a movie together or the Coen brothers making a movie together?
The Coen brothers are doing one.
Oh, they are? Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right. Never mind. Yeah. Stupid question. Anyway, go back into your research.
But good answer.
Anyway. So eventually this movie comes back around. Tony Scott's making it. And I've seen kind of mixed things on how exactly Denzel became the star. It seems at one point Russell Crowe was offered the role, which makes sense considering his relationship with Ridley Scott and kind of just where he was as a movie star at the time. And Russell Crowe was like, already made Proof of Life. Ass. No, thank you.
Oh, man, Proof of Life. What a bad movie.
I never saw that. Like I heard it was bad. And then
you guys have never seen Proof of Life?
Nope.
But you're not missing much.
That's him and Meg Ryan.
I love how you got so excited and then we're like, don't.
No.
You've never seen that? Don't do
Well,
it.
I'm just surprised because both of you guys, that's like, honestly, for the three knuckleheads that are on this podcast, mid-2000s dumb action movies / thriller adjacent films are clearly in our wheelhouse. So like when you guys say that you haven't
90s,
seen
2000s action junk.
Yeah, it's action junk. It's also got movie stars.
It feels like a movie I would have watched, like 100%.
Knowing Jay and I mean, Crow is one of the great movie stars of like
I'm in my trash
that 90s, 2000s sort of era, right?
Yeah.
Because now he's just like doing a bunch of Pope's Exorcist crap. You know what I mean? And stuff like whatever he's doing, he's got a paycheck. Great for
Make
him.
that money, baby.
Yeah,
Taylor Hackford, accurately named, perhaps.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Talk about bad biopics.
But anyway, is Ray? Did he do Ray?
He sure did. He sure
It was
did.
bad. God, that movie's so bad. It's
I
so
found my
cliche.
people. Everyone
so
I know loves
cliched.
that movie, and I hate it.
God, it's so cliche.
It's a really good impression for 2 hours. That's about
not
it.
even like you know what I mean. That movie walks so then Bohemian Rhapsody could run because it's literally the same movie. It's
another movie I dodged, but that was on purpose. I'm like, I'm good.
The better biopic that year is The Aviator, and we've established that.
Well, yes. 100%.
But anyway, back to you, Jay.
Yeah. So Crow passes potentially again a couple stories revolving around this, and then on the commentary that I listened to, Tony Scott is like, Yeah, I was at the acupuncturist one day, and Denzel walked in. Hadn't seen him since Crimson Tide.
It's the most LA thing I've ever heard in my
And
life.
the way he describes it, he's like, "Oh yeah, me and Denzel, we had some injuries from being athletes younger in life, and so we had to go to the acupuncturist." And and then he walks in and he's like, "I couldn't see anybody else as Creasy from that point on." And then
Mm,
Denzel was sort of in this kind of like tweener period after winning the Oscar for Training Day,
mhm.
and it by all accounts this sort of revitalized Denzel in many ways, and I think that can kind of be confirmed by the fact that basically every Tony Scott movie after this is made with Denzel Washington. They seem to really form an
Yeah.
intense partnership after this, and this is the start of, it's not the first movie that Tony Scott did with Denzel, but this is his Denzel era, right?
Yeah,
That's
for
from
sure.
now until the end of his career is his Denzel era. And I love this movie to death. I think it is truly one of the best final 10 minutes in, I am not exaggerating, the history of cinema. I think it is so affecting. The
Hmm.
first hour of this movie basically is not an action movie.
It's wild. It's all
And
set up, but
yeah,
wonderful setup. Yeah.
wonderful setup,
Perfect setup.
played so well by everybody. Dakota Fanning giving what I really believe is one of the best child performances ever. She is intelligent without feeling like precocious.
Uh-huh.
And that's what you hear throughout the entirety of the commentary is Tony Scott being like, I was so worried this was going to get like overly sentimental or cheap
Hmm.
or annoying. Um, and then it just never really does. And
Yeah.
that's the magic of the movie. It's, I will just say flat out, I think this is Tony Scott's best movie.
Yeah.
I think it is when you consider it being this inflection point in his career stylistically. It
Hmm.
is the perfect marriage of his expressionistic style with truly emotional material.
Hmm.
It has this magical blend to it. It's an alchemical film that I
Mm.
absolutely adore. And as we were coming into the series, I was like, I think Crimson Tide is my favorite, but maybe Man on Fire is my favorite. And then
Mm.
sure enough, I watched Man on Fire again, and it's my favorite. I think this is a
But if
really,
you watch Crimson Tide tomorrow,
it
maybe it's
might change.
Crimson
Who knows?
Tide.
Who knows?
I
But no,
mean,
I really do think Man on Fire is sort of like the one that I'm like, this both defines Tony Scott and affects me emotionally and viscerally, and
mhm.
to me is like Tony Scott's ultimate statement. And
Mm.
so for that, I kind of hold it. Even though I think both are like perfect movies, I still have this like a notch above something like a Crimson Tide,
Yeah.
which is sort of a boilerplate movie elevated by Tony Scott, whereas this to
Right.
me feels like a wholly emotionally realized vision.
And I was realizing while you were talking about that setup, right? That 45 minutes to an hour of setup, this is what makes this movie not disposable action.
Mhm.
All the stuff later with Denzel being a badass, which he is very good at. I would pay money to see
I
that in the
wish
theater no
you
matter what.
had more time.
It's so good. It's so good. But if you don't have that setup, then it's like, okay, he's just like a heartless killer and a badass, and there's nothing behind it. But because you know that relationship, you're with him and you're like, yeah,
There's no
this is what
shorthand
this is
in
what
this
we have
movie.
to do. This is what we have to do because that what they did to that little girl is unforgivable. I don't care which cog you are in that machine, all of you deserve to die. And that's where you are with Denzel in this movie. And if that first hour is weak at all, even if you have Denzel but you have a child actor who's like kind of okay,
Yeah.
at some point you're just like, okay, someone else dies. Who cares? I don't.
Thank
I
God
just
the
I'm
kid's
checking
gone.
out.
At
Yeah,
least the kid's gone. Yeah.
exactly. But because that connection is so real in that first hour, everything else that it pulls you along with all the violence, all the explosions, all the one-liners, all that stuff ends up feeling also really genuine. And that's really hard to do. Yeah, in an action movie, you usually have to suspend disbelief not only for the action, but for the character. And there's none of that here. You don't need to suspend anything. You were just like
Agreed.
completely lockstep with this character's journey. And another thing I love about this movie is it doesn't pull any punches on its lead character either. He's not invincible. He can be harmed, and you see it, and it creates really bad things by the end of the movie. And it's just kind of beautiful, the arc of the damage that he takes throughout this film, because he's willing to put his life on the line because something so immoral and terrible has occurred that it is worth giving up my life because of what was done here. And you feel that without it having to be said. That's why Denzel's so good. He never has to say a wrong was committed, and we did none of that. It's just, because you're there with him, and it's kind of a brilliant action film. Can we give it 6 stars out of 5?
6 stars. Give it 6 stars. I mean, what's a better introduction than Denzel Washington coming on screen and just saying, "Do you think God will forgive us for what we did?" And then Christopher Walken just saying, "No,
no." It's so great.
Yeah, I think this movie's a masterpiece. It's one of my 2 favorites from
What's the other one?
Tony Scott. It's Crimson Tide.
with Crimson."
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think both of those films actually
we're in like lockstep with all.
They're so different.
You and I,
different.
you and I just like, we gotta stop being in.
Time to break up the team.
Time to break up the band.
You 6-7 years too long.
No, but I think, but also too, to your point, Jay, Man on Fire is the culmination of one era of Tony Scott, and I think Crimson Tide is the culmination of the first half of his career. I think that they both are of Crimson Tide is the best of what
Populist Tony and expressionistic Tony.
Yes, I think that of the man who is what some people would assume is a gun for hire, but can elevate this material and enormously put his great talent behind these set pieces, but obviously get these incredible dynamic performances out of his actors. He's making these almost sport movies for the most part of for the first half of his career, but definitely just building the tension up and up and up and up and up and up. And then I think once Crimson Tide happens, we get the new era. We get the, pre 9/11, post 9/11 sort of, enemy of the state. And you start getting these movies where they've gone free of the mold of having to rely on Bruckheimer and
it's sort of like Bruckheimer Tony and post Bruckheimer.
Yeah,
Tony.
even though
he does come,
he comes back,
Bruckheimer, but it's not exactly the same.
No, it's not exactly the same, because he's developed. Him and his brother have developed their own style at that point in the 2000s that is distinctly theirs. This movie looks like no other action movie of its time, and it's because of that. Like, this movie is. You guys have maybe haven't even got to it, but we haven't undersold. This movie is fucking wild. That it exists.
It really is.
It is.
It's emotion as aesthetic. It's
it's
like
a lot of
artistically potent.
It's honestly like what George Miller talks about with Fury Road, where that's action.
It's
in place
avant-garde.
It's instead of, but the editing of this movie, how.
The choices are made.
Choices are made, but it feels like for the first time in a long time, mainly an action director has said, "I'm going to put you in the mind of what really this man is going throughout the most of this movie."
Yep.
And I think the reason why those first 45 minutes to an hour work so goddamn much is because it's not because he's taking care of this little girl and then she gets stolen. It's that this little girl fixed him.
Yeah. She reached him.
And she reached him when he is at his most broken. It is easy to just insert an actor who is smug and cocky. Like, think of it like the Bruce Willis character, right, Jay, in any movie in the 90s and early 2000s, where like, yeah, I'm the cock of the walker. Like, like Last Boy Scout, right? Like, I know what I'm about, and I'm going to come in here and take care of you, princess. You know what I mean? Like, if that's a Shane Black movie. I'm not here. None of that's here. It's devoid of
Shane
all.
Black does kids' characters pretty well too.
No, I'm talking about like there would be this
Shortcuts.
sense of, there would be this sense of he didn't have any remorse for the actions that he's done.
No. Shane Black doesn't really do fixer-uppers. He does broken to slightly less broken.
Yeah, but they hide their emotion through comedy and through one-liners that are perfect. I'm not knocking Shane Black.
There's like a forced coolness with the Shane Black character, and
yes.
Denzel just has it. Like, I'm not going to sit here and
like,
be like,
you know
not
he...
cool, Denzel Washington. I'm not going to be that guy, but it's with low effort. Like, he just has it. Unlike his son, he just has that cool factor, and he just walks in, and you're immediately convinced. It's not effortful at all.
But he is just so broken in this movie too.
He is, and then she's also been through like a dozen of these guys. So she's not really in the mood of attaching herself to him as well. Right. But they both find this way in their own way because to become friends. Right. This child and this man, this little girl and this enormous, emotionally distraught human being. And it's beautiful. And the first 45 minutes of this movie you're right, Jay. Like it balances a line of like, this could be way too schmaltzy. And then it's like, but no, it's not. It's perfect. Like it understands exactly what it needs to do. And we all know when the twist is coming. We all know when this, she's going to get kidnapped and everything. And yet you then invest yourself into every decision that he has. And the thing about it is, it's like, he doesn't like John Wick it, right? Where he kills all the guys in the street, but they get away and he's got no bullets on him. And like he has a recovery
that's
of
actually
him.
What's good about John Wick is that John Wick gets beat up too. But
no, he does. But there's also like, he has a bulletproof freaking suit. You know what I mean? Right. In this, Creasy is like,
this is not a James Bond.
No, this is realistic in that this guy, if you should have killed him.
He still takes a lot of damage. And
he takes
to be fair.
No, he does, but what I'm trying to say is that we have to see him recover first again and have to deal with the fact that he lost her again before we get any of this badassery. We are sitting actually with an hour 20 of this movie. Yeah. Of him having to put himself back together, fall for a friendship here, and then lose it. And lose it all within an inch of his life. Right. And then the second half of this movie, which I think is great as an action movie, there's set pieces, the patience he has in setting up these action sequences too. Was really great. For a movie so kinetic, the action's very patient, I think, at times. The rules are very, like, the minute he's healthy, everyone kind of understands Creasy is on the run to just kill everyone.
Right. And but how many people does he actually kill in this movie? Like 10? Maybe with the rocket launcher a little bit more than that.
He probably kills what? Four in the car, the driver,
two at the nightclub. That we see
one before that in the car, right, where he takes the guy's fingers.
Car, the guy with the bomb,
the guy that double crossed them, the head of the organization, right?
I think it's like a dozen or less.
Probably like a dozen.
Which is shocking if you.
Which is like an opening action. It's an opening action set piece for like a freaking John Wick movie.
It's like half. Like it's yeah. I was thinking about that first hour, and I think one of the reasons, and I didn't realize it until Ryan, you were talking, is that one of the reasons it really works is it's not overly sweet. It's tough love on both of their parts. She reads him for filth within 5 minutes of meeting him. She knows exactly who he is. And then when it comes to him like training her for the swim meet, like, it's not, you can do it, everything's gonna be fine, kid. It's like, no, do better. You can do better, and
there's no such thing as tough. There's trained and untrained.
Yeah, it's just
that
like
rocks.
Yeah, and then he's like, all right, let's do it again. You know what I mean? And it's
whistle and it's go.
It's regimented. It's it's honestly militaristic.
It wouldn't work if he was too nice. You'd be like, I don't buy this character. But being soft? Like, I don't buy it.
But doesn't that also then show, I think, a little bit without even actually having to do a flashback about his training?
Yes,
the type of pressure that was on him to make perfect. So he's teaching her exactly how he is at his precision of his job. And so
as long as he's not drinking.
As long as he's not, drinking and playing Blue Bayou. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, which I was getting a lot of early on when they were playing that over and over again. Jay, I was getting a lot of Wong Kar-wai, like just kind of inspirations in the beginning of that. Just the way, obviously the way that the editing is in the film, the way
emotion
the movie shot,
through filmmaking, which is all that Wong Kar-wai is.
Yes, and
it's all about like suppressed emotion. So
and the repetitiveness of a song that plays over in one's head, and how he uses music deliberately.
California Dreamin'.
Yes, exactly. Like in Chungking Express, but like no, I love all that. But what also kind of makes this movie rule for me. And this may be the messy part of the film, but the fact that then the AFI AFI agents and like the sort of the what is it, like the journalists and everybody start using his violence as almost like a case study to see how they can infect the mob or the drug cartels in Mexico, because they're at their last resources as well, and everywhere is corrupt at this point. And it was honestly, Jay, a movie that I was reminded of when we argued about last year here on this show, of why it didn't take it further, why we didn't get a little bit more, was Villeneuve's Sicario. A movie that
it's almost inevitable that will come up. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that was a movie where I was like, this has interesting ideas, but I feel like with such a madman or hitman or the agenda that Brolin and Benicio have in that's kind of not told to us until the end, it feels like a big switcheroo. It feels just like a third act twist. When this is, I think, kind of the way in which it should be done, which it's like, all right, well, we're gonna give this guy the resources, and we're gonna see what he does, and then we'll count the bodies afterwards and see how cause and effect really went into play.
He's gonna do it anyway.
He's gonna do it anyway. We might as well essentially fund it. Yeah, and I think that's fascinating.
I mean, Sicario is kind of doing the exact same thing.
They are, but it doesn't.
But the filmmaking is just so much different.
It's not emotionally there.
Denis Villeneuve is an extraordinarily literal filmmaker. Yeah. And Tony Scott imbues his stuff with so much.
I think Tony Scott not literal. It's not.
No, I think that there is complexities from both sides here.
Sure.
Of what this implicates, what this means. Obviously for Creasy, but what it means for the country that they're in, and then the other characters and how they're involved. Like this is a much more layered dip than the single layered one.
Well, it's just
if I can use a dip metaphor here.
I'm glad that you're the one making that reference and not the two white guys on the show.
Yeah, I can make that. Yes, it's more layered. It's I know that some people think that like, because like. And it's the only literal thing that Jay, kind of mentioned is that by the end of the movie, who's the movie dedicated to? To the country of Mexico. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's like
to Mexico City, a very special place
for us, right? And so, we don't hate it. I know
maybe a tad condescending, but
it seems like it. But it also, like, for me, as I was watching it, I'm like.
But also, Tony Scott's so sincere, man. That's the thing about Tony Scott that people don't understand. He means so sincere.
He's not. He's never been like the guy that's just like, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to stereotype or shit talk an entire country. He kind of, honestly, he understands.
He cares about the people in his movies so much. He cares about his art so much.
So I actually have a question about that, and it's a question I don't know the answer to. So I found myself wondering, if you don't cast Denzel, if you cast a white man in this role, killing brown people left
you're talking
and
about
right,
Get the Gringo.
Yeah.
The Mel Gibson movie.
It does, even if you have the exact same performance.
Yeah.
Does your opinion of the movie alter at all with a white character wrecking shop throughout Mexico City?
I think
mine does. Like, and I
think it slightly does, but I think also I think the movie kind of emotionally then falls apart. You know what I mean? Because Denzel, like all those actors you guys mentioned, like yeah, you can plug them in with Fanning here, and it maybe it works on that level for the first hour. But yeah, the malevolent sort of violence that happens by the end, it's you know, I think Scott is aware that I don't think it's a secret that Denzel's in this movie, because like, you know, I think it's purposeful. I think
that's a part of the reason.
I think so. Like I think it's one, it's great casting. Two, it's somebody that he's worked with before and it absolutely worked, and he wanted to work with and he continued to work with, so that's not a mistake there. But I do think that if he's, I'm not saying that, and it's, I don't know if it was in your book, Jay, or not, that you read, but it feels like it's purposeful in the right way in order to get any political message that he's trying to get across in here. Because yeah, if it is just a bunch of white dudes killing a bunch of brown guys, that does not look good.
But like we just said, they don't kill that many people.
12 people's, but the way in which he does it is
you heard it here
merciless.
first. Jay thinks 12 Mexican people don't matter. That's
well, they are bad guys. They are bad guys, to be fair.
What makes it impactful, to your point, Ryan, is that they're very personal, intimate killings. I will say that
a shotgun to a guy's crotch.
I don't know that it would impact my viewing of the film quite as much, because the way that I view his arc in this movie, because I do find this to be a very spiritual film, is he's kind of trying to achieve something similar to redemption while also knowing that he can never really achieve true redemption. So there's this character who has an innate understanding of his place in the world, knowing that that place is not completely on the up and up, that I think could apply to other performers as well. But Denzel is just like the best actor, so why not?
Yeah, why not have? I mean, like that's the thing too. Is like it's the same thing we talked about with Crimson Tide. Is that they thought about Brad Pitt in the Denzel role, and they thought about other actors, I think, in the Hackman role. But when you add Denzel Washington to that role, and you add Hackman and those characters the way they're written, it adds an extra layer of racial dynamics that are not there before, and it elevates your action film. Yes, Enemy of the State too. It elevates your action film to another level and playing field of discussion. And I think having Denzel in here is perfect, not only because he's one of the greatest actors and one of my favorite actors on the planet, but because he's also able to blend in. Like, it's easy to have an old white guy just kind of walking through, but because honestly, that's how most of the guys either here are. They're either Mexican cartels or they're white guys with dark tans because they've been down there like Mickey Rourke. You know what I mean? So, but you have Denzel who's able to kind of just walk through. Like, that's when the rocket launcher sequence. He just gets out of a car. He's just walking through. It's the middle of the morning. Nobody's looking at him any way different whatsoever.
I don't think that's because of that. I think that's just because he's Denzel and he's cool.
I think that there's that, but I think, hey, there's that white guy with like a bag full of crap there, like Gene Hackman with arthritis, just kind of limping around, like, you know what I mean? Like,
there's not a ton of guys walking around.
Would still watch. Just see Liam Neeson just like, barely who can run in the Taken movies, but no, I think that I think also just the dynamic then too with Fanning is really interesting, and it also feels like then you can talk about being a cog in a machine, talk about being a killer by your own, and how he survived and how it's not probably been an easy road. And so he knows about that. And, I think that casting him is a perfect decision.
Yeah. Agreed.
And it doesn't have to be, and it doesn't I think, yes, I would look at this movie a little bit like, why you have that at the end? When you're pulling off guys' fingernails and stuff, and like, he's clearly, I wouldn't say he's enjoying it, but he's just like, his soul is just gone. And I don't think many actors can do that, by the way. Like, Denzel's like one of the very few that I'm like, oh, he's gone to like soulless territory.
He's done.
And he's done. There's not many, that's the thing. I believe this is why this series coming up from Netflix with who's doing it? It's
Yeah, Abdul Mateen is going to be the Denzel. Yeah, Creasy.
That's a bad choice.
He's really young.
You're setting him up to fail. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're setting him up to fail.
Yeah,
to be the heir apparent after Denzel. That's rough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But I have a question about something Jay said. You talked about this as a spiritual film, which I totally agree with.
Yeah.
Do you feel like by the end, with his death, that he is redeemed? Or do you think he's gone too far?
Of the movie.
Yeah.
It's sort of like,
answer it.
It's like in this environment where he truly feels the whole Creasy experience in this film for me is just this guy who accepts the reality that he is irredeemable, and then it's just like, I might as well do something good with my ability to achieve evil. Basically, it's like I can do the worst things to people. I might as well do something good with my set of skills. And then by the end of the film, is it sort of a redemption? I think it's certainly framed that way to a certain extent, but I mean, that's the spiritual element of it. It's like, it's not really up to him, you know? It's like, he's not doing this to be redeemed. He's doing it because he feels irredeemable, and he's just like, there's two ways to approach kind of the sense of nihilism that he has achieved, right? It's you can either go to the dark side, or you can do what he does, where he's just like, it doesn't matter either way, I might as well do good, or it doesn't matter either way, I might as well just do evil. And he's potentially reaching that point where it's like, maybe by even taking on that worldview, he has become redeemed in his own way. And that's like heady stuff.
Yeah, and that's
another
movie
that makes you feel that way, that also has
a
guy getting a bomb stuck up his butt.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly the way I read the end of this movie. I think one of the things it's saying is that if you seek redemption, you will never have it, because you're doing it for the wrong reasons. It's a selfish act inherent in seeking redemption. He is not seeking redemption, but this is probably the first time he has used the skills he has for actual good. Before this, he was doing the bidding of a government, and we all know there's very little good that can be done when you are doing violent acts for a government, not because every government is awful, but because there's context that we don't have as the people doing those actions. But what he's doing here, even if he has to shut himself completely down to do it, is an honorable, moral, and justifiable thing to do. So, and he gives his life to do the right thing, to save this child. Yes, he started out doing it because he thought the child was dead, but he ends up doing it and saves this child's life. That is a net good. So in my view, by the end of the film, he's redeemed almost against his will. The world,
that's kind of
God, whatever you want to frame it as, has redeemed him, because he has finally, maybe for the first time in his life, done actual good. When we talk about doing good, I think sometimes we don't understand that it's not just doing the next right thing or the thing that everyone else does. Doing actual good, making an actual difference, which is what Creasy does here because of his relationship with this child, has to be effortful. It has to be work. And you see his work here, his masterpiece here. So by the end of the film, as he loses consciousness, in my mind, like, he is completely redeemed. The slate is now finally clean, which he thought would never be possible.
Well, I think he's redeemed, but then I also think that he could easily kill all those guys and continue.
No. There's a very obvious reason why he doesn't kill those guys. Because if he kills those guys, they'll chase. Kill PETA.
No, I understand that. Well, I mean, you don't know that because he's like a killing machine. But let's say he could keep going.
They'll be on the run. The movie is closed by him dying.
Yes, but see, that's the thing. Even Tony Scott, who in most of it, like, think of the ending of True Romance. Think of it like them on the beach, right? This movie could end even more badass, or like an action
emotional
movie.
And
you know what I mean? It could end with a, with
very affecting end.
It could be like a Western.
And maybe it's
like you guys are saying, like he could kill all of them, and then he just dies there. You know what I mean, like that or whatnot, and they drive off. And
They could do the Wild Bunch.
Yeah,
Denzel defeats the cartel.
Exactly.
No more
like,
cartel in Mexico.
Cartels are gone,
Thanks,
baby. And then like the FBI agent and the agent and the journalist come in there and like, we won't know what his how good his good is, you know what I mean, and whatever. But you know, we won't know if he ever made it good. And there's like a title card. His good was only good for so much, but Peter got to the, and then the movie
need to talk
ends
about some of the end title cards in this thing.
The movie ends with like her at the swim meet and him watching from afar or some crap like that. Like that's how stupid this movie could be if a studio allowed it to be schmaltzy again, but it doesn't. He makes the choice to say, I know how dangerous I can be. You want to know? I've been unchecked for like the last week and I've killed 12 people in the most merciless, wild, creative ways possible. And I was about to do even more if the guy on the phone didn't say that the girl was still alive. Like if that's the thing about the twist here is her being alive, which if you want to be like, oh, what a cheap twist, whatever. But
it makes him less violent, which is strange.
It turns off the switch immediately. And Denzel plays that perfectly of like, I need to know what her bear's name is. If you can tell me what that is, I will literally give you my life in exchange for hers. Because my life, I know I've been drinking it away, is terrible. And when like literally like any other action movie in the world could make a scene where a guy is grabbing a bunch of guns and romanticize the shit out of it. And you can see
they do the exact opposite. They do a scene where he's drinking Jack Daniels and tries to kill himself. And then it is like God intervening and saying, it's not your time yet.
But not yet.
I see when he's got all the guns and he's doing all that and he's checking all of them and he's got his bag full up of crap and everything. I sit there and I go, I can see his face. He does not want to have to do this.
Right.
And it is torture going back into his psychosis again.
He wants to do it, but he hates that he wants to do it. And then Christopher Walken, meanwhile, is like, man, I love you, Creasy, but I thought I was kind of past this.
He's the one who knows, like, oh, it's about.
I just got you a job taking care of her. I didn't know that. Yeah, but it's like you knew when you took him to the hospital and he didn't bleed out. You knew what was going to happen when he woke up. You know what I mean?
Rayburn's a good friend.
He really is. Walken's really good in this movie.
Is this Mark Anthony's best? I
was going to ask.
I mean, he's not bad. Like, I don't think he's phenomenal.
I think he's
what
good.
A punchable face.
He really sells the scene where he confesses the twist that he was
an
active participant in the kidnapping.
Yeah,
Denzel's so good in that scene too.
Yeah.
I think Radha Mitchell's really good.
Yeah. And that's not an actress who has been like in a lot of great films or anything like that. Like I've seen some of her work before and it's pretty standard stuff, but I actually quite like her here. I think she's really good. I think plays off Denzel well, which is not easy. Like Denzel is a force of nature in every movie, and it's very easy to be blown off screen by him. I remember hearing I think it was an interview with Austin Butler. He was in a play with him, and he was like, every rehearsal was a completely different performance. One time he just like carried a chair around the room for 3 hours just to try something new. Like, this is the type of actor you're dealing with. So to not be blown off screen by Denzel is impressive. Even if it's clear you're not in his not on his level at all, just to not have him act circles around you is something to be proud of, because he really is the best actor of this generation. Like, and I don't think it's even arguable for anyone.
I think if
else.
you wouldn't have made it the argument, he might be the greatest actor of all time. You can make that.
He could be.
I mean,
you can make that argument.
Greats, for sure.
He's not just. It's not just about the movies. It's about his work on stage.
Yep.
He's honestly one of the great Shakespearean actors that we have. Like, left. Because I mean, like,
and he doesn't do TV. Thank God.
No, yet. But I think
don't put that out.
Antoine
He does feel
Fuqua,
like a guy who's just never going to do TV.
no, well, he does. He
Closest
need
he's
to?
done to
movie star.
TV is The Equalizer. Like the
Does he need
Equalizer's
to?
basically TV, but it's
Yeah.
TV at the movies.
Well, no, I mean, like, I will be putting down a hefty amount of money to go see him as Othello next year on Broadway in New York.
Amazing.
I mean, it's like to be. Yeah, I mean, we did a movie star draft, and Jay took him, and I was so angry because, like,
Yeah,
I was
mean,
like,
it's the best.
God damn it, I should have just, and I was
It took him
debating.
in round 2.
You took him in round, yeah, we took him in round
I mean,
two.
in movie stars, it's like him and Cruise, right? Like in terms of
Of his
Yeah.
era.
maybe Will Smith.
Hanks,
Depends where
How
you
you
put
look at it.
Leo, I guess.
Hanks, does Hanks count? Hanks is like his
yeah.
era, right? Right?
Yeah, they're
Very
in the same
different
era.
kinds of movie stars.
I
No, but
miss,
they came
I
they
miss
came
that
together.
era.
They came together for
What's a movie
Philadelphia.
star anymore?
You know what I
So
mean?
Philadelphia
I
is
miss
so
that.
Oh man,
Great movie.
Jonathan Demme. Yeah, and Denzel.
And Denzel's the best performance in that movie by
Honestly,
a
he
long
really
way.
is. That's
He's incredible.
that's such a really
I haven't watched
That's
that
another
in
movie where
years.
he's on
I
the
need to
teetering
rewatch
edge
that.
of being like that scene at the pharmacy that could go so wrong, but he has such an understanding of that.
But there's that great scene of them when it's like towards the end and it's just him and Denzel in the apartment with him and Hanks, and I'm like, that's where just two movie stars
Yep.
just make this movie a fucking
And
great-
Hanks has also talked about with working with Denzel. He's
it's
like
the hardest thing I've ever had to do.
He's the one actor where it's like I have to bring not my A game, my A plus game if Denzel is in the room with me because he is the best. Like, and with Tom Hanks, who is a very good actor, multiple award winner, Oscars. Like when he says that means something.
No,
like
it's a big
Denzel
compliment.
is the man.
I have
You know
a
who
question.
Denzel wasn't a huge fan of?
Who? Dakota Fanning?
Mickey Rourke.
Yeah, that's not
Believe
a
it or
huge
not.
surprise.
Oh my
Huge
God,
surprise.
Mickey Rourke having behind the scenes trouble. Jay Ledbetter.
Unbelievable.
I don't know about that, Jay. I think that's some fake news right there.
Well, I mean, Tony brought him back for the next one.
He did bring him back for
Domino.
Domino Ave.
Choices.
Didn't he work with him before too? I feel like we had Mickey Rourke and
I don't think so.
no. Why do I feel like he's been in like a ton of these?
Because
he
his face
obviously-
is unrecognizable. You can't
That's
tell
true.
when he's
He's-
on screen.
He's a chameleon at the.
He may
I
have
have
been in Crimson Tide, but we just don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
He was swimming alongside. So
was
it's
he
fine.
had gills. Is this a Mount Rushmore Denzel performance?
I think so.
Ooh.
What are his four best?
I mean, Malcolm X.
You got to put Malcolm X on there.
That's one of the greatest performances of all time, by the way. You know,
Yes.
yeah.
If you're going like big, well, this isn't the thing about you think of this as like a big movie. His performance is so internal. In
It's
this
very.
movie.
It's the kind of performance you don't see in action movies.
I'm pulling it up. I'm pulling up the Denzel. For me, off the top of my head, I'm absolutely saying this is on the Rushmore.
Okay.
But let me confirm for you, my friend.
Okay. Because that's.
I think we're all in agreement. Malcolm X is on there.
Yeah. That's.
All right, you know what I'm going with? I'm going Malcolm X, Man on Fire.
Okay.
I think Remember the Titans is sort of like an undeniable pop achievement from him.
Okay.
So I'm going to put that one on there. And then the fourth one, I can hear a bunch of different debates on. I could hear Devil in a Blue Dress. I could hear He Got Game. I could hear Tragedy of Macbeth.
I'm gonna go with.
And then I could
Malcolm-
hear Training Day too. I mean, he's awesome in Training Day.
I was gonna say I can go Malcolm X. While I'm not a particular fan of the overall film, I do think his performance in Training Day is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. This one, and I think the Tragedy of Macbeth is an incredible performance, and we don't talk about it enough
It's
over
great.
the last 5-6 years.
He was my
I
lead
think it was
actor
in
that
my
year.
top 5 that year. It's
He was my
an
winner.
incredible movie. It's I don't know. I think I could make a Mount Rushmore just of his Spike Lee movies. Like,
Oh
you
man,
got
he's
Malcolm
so
X.
good in
You could just do
Inside
a Mount
Man.
Rushmore out of his
so
Tony Scott movies.
Malcolm X, Inside Man, Mo Better Blues.
Yeah, he's great in that.
Also a tremendous performance.
He's so good in.
And then you talk about He Got Game would be the fourth one, but then you even talk about like movies like Glory or movies like Cry Freedom. These are also great, and it's one of those things where I'm thinking about this and like, am I denigrating action movies? Am I punishing this performance because it's not a Oscar type movie? Because like you could make the argument that this is one of his best 4 performances, and I have no issue with it at all. I mean, but I don't know. All his Spike Lee stuff is so good. Like,
I think he's
tremendous.
I think he's phenomenal in American Gangster for me. And I think that even a movie like The Manchurian Candidate, which is a lesser film than the original,
he just carries on his back.
He is doing all the lifting in that movie.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if you, depending on your mileage, which Streep in that movie too. But
sure.
Well, even like how bad is The Book of Eli if it stars?
Ooh, yeah, it's like one of the worst movies ever made if Denzel isn't in it.
Yeah,
like
I'm telling you that the Magnificent Seven remake, if he's not in it and all those other actors are in it, it would be unwatchable. He has so much stuff. Like, should a movie like Two Guns exist? Because Mark Wahlberg's
The Magnificent Seven. I have no recollection of that movie whatsoever.
Well, Jay, there's 7 people.
There's 7 of them. Chris Pratt's one of them, I believe. And Ethan Hawke is one of them, correct?
Yes,
that's correct.
They're kind of magnificent.
Are they?
Chris Pratt's in it.
Is it
your favorite? Favorite? Dave's favorite, Chris. And but no, I mean, even there are 3 Equalizer movies that exist. And I've said this before.
And they're all enjoyable.
They shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
But the only reason they do exist is because of him.
Yeah. You know,
a movie like Flight shouldn't have money, and yet it does. Yeah. It's not a particularly good movie. But
you know what? One of his roles that we don't talk about enough is in Mississippi Masala.
Yeah, he's
the Millionaire movie. It's a tremendous performance by him.
Has anybody even brought up Devil in a Blue Dress?
Yeah, Dave mentioned it.
Did he? Yeah.
No, I think Jay mentioned it actually. But I think
good for me.
Good for you.
But I think to me,
did you just pat yourself on the fucking back?
Don't break your arm, buddy. Great shout out by me.
Oh, it's so tough getting back here.
But you know what? That movie, obviously Denzel's great in it. He's great in everything. But I remember that movie for Don Cheadle.
Yep.
More than I do for Denzel.
I mean, he's amazing.
So I don't put that. Yes, he's phenomenal. And so I don't put that on Denzel's 4 because he's very, very good as always. It's like when you watch a movie by a director who is a master and the movie's like an A- or a B+, you're like, what a piece of shit. That was terrible because you're grading on a curve, right? And the same thing with Denzel. I've never seen him. He was even good in Virtuosity, and that movie sucks. It's terrible. I saw that
kind of fun.
I saw that opening night, midnight. I was hyped for that movie when it came out. And it is a very, very bad movie. And yet he brings some amount of genuineness to it because he is that good. He's always good. So when you're talking about your top 4, you could make a top 10 that you could argue about for days with Denzel. He is that excellent.
Yeah. I mean, hey, Jay. Quick question.
No one said Fences. No one even mentioned Fences.
He's fine in it.
I don't like when Denzel directs Denzel.
No, I think he's good I think he's just good in Great Debaters and a supporting role. But when he's a lead, he's
good. He's good in Fences, but he's Denzel.
No, but he's not the reason. He's not what I remember in Fences. I remember Viola in Fences.
Sure,
that's a great performance.
Yeah, a truly great supporting performance. Right. That's.
You gonna start shit today?
That's right, baby. That's right. I'm gonna start it and then leave. This is the best.
Jay, how much was Flight made for? Don't look it up.
Just give me a guess. Flight. So that's Zemeckis. What? That came out in 2011 or something.
2012. Yeah.
I'm gonna say that cost 110.
No.
I was gonna say 75.
Oh, you're low too. It's 31.
31.
Flight was made for 31,
and it made $162 million at the box office.
That's
the power of Denzel Washington.
I thought you were teasing me to go high.
No, baby, I was going to go low.
Wow.
Yeah, that's an indie compared to Robert Zemeckis's, career.
Yeah, I think that movie stinks.
How much was Pinocchio?
It has one amazing scene in it, and then the rest of it is just.
Is it the flight? Is it literal the flight scene?
The scene where they're doing heroin and they play Under the Bridge is unforgivable, in my opinion.
Now,
just awful.
Now, Jay, how much was the budget for Robert Zemeckis's Pinocchio?
Oh, Pinocchio? I don't know. Now you've got me really second guessing myself. I don't know.
90 million.
60?
No, you guys are wrong. It's 150.
What?
100.
I was gonna say 110, and I was like, that's way too high, Dave. What are you talking about?
We kind of think Zemeckis made like a crap ton of like really high budget films, but like his movies are actually kind of like Marwen's only a $50 million movie.
Well, you're talking about the latter portion of his career when he wasn't in Vogue.
Allied. Remember Allied?
Yeah.
85 to $113 million is what that budget cost.
Mm-hmm. Man, I thought that movie was going to be so good. I was so excited for that one.
I got to tell you, one of the great trailers, because you're just like, okay.
Yes.
Marion Cotillard and Brad Pitt, and there's like it's a spy and a game.
Sexy spy movie.
Oh my God, sign me up. And then what a boring hunk of junk.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like middling throughout.
That's a movie Tony Scott should have made easily. That would have been a sexy goddamn movie.
A better world.
Paul Verhoeven makes that movie. I need
that never gets made.
No, that never did. No, but I just want I feel like a movie like Allied should have been really.
That's a slam.
Adrian Lyne, that should have been somebody really sexy.
Perfect.
Yep. Who knows? It should have almost been like an erotic spy thriller.
Yeah, he could have made them have snails or something. That's
it's
the new Adrian.
Sexy. Just some weird shit. Like we should be That's a movie we should be talking about a lot. You know what I mean?
And it's a movie that until you mentioned it, I probably haven't thought about.
You forgot about
since
it
came out.
Yeah.
But as soon as that movie.
That's the Robert Zemeckis special of the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah,
they're tricking me. They're tricking me into being excited about this new Zemeckis movie. But
is it the one with Tom Hanks and right?
Yeah, it's called
like the
Here.
What's it about again?
It's very vague, but it's like this. Here's the premise on Wikipedia. The story covers the events of a single spot of land and its inhabitants spanning from the past to well into the future. It sounds like freaking Cloud Atlas. Is what it sounds like.
No, it does sound like Cloud Atlas.
Written by Eric Roth.
Oh, I mean, Eric Roth's not a bad screenwriter. He's pretty good.
He wrote Gump.
He wrote Ben Budden.
Okay, now I'm on your side.
He wrote Flower Moon last year.
Yep. Sure
if you believe that.
Iffy.
Little if. I always thought that rumor was stupid. But I'm like, honestly, do you think that Paul Thomas Anderson wouldn't put his name on something? Come on now.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Get out of here, people.
No,
Eric likes to see his name in print.
I'm talking myself into that being something I'm excited for.
I love when movie podcasters are like, maybe I'll see it. You're gonna fucking see it. Like, what are we talking about?
Excited for it. I'm gonna see
it.
Yeah,
it's the difference between I'm excited and I actually am anticipating it.
I'm also one of the few. Welcome to Marwen is actually a really interesting piece of work, guys. It's not good, but there is a scene where a character is hanging out the side of a DeLorean screaming at the other characters to let the past die and how artistic obsession is killing them.
I did not enjoy that movie at all. I
didn't enjoy it, but there was one moment where I was like, this is loaded.
I need to rewatch. I guess I need to rewatch it.
Do you?
I do it. I do a Zemeckis watch.
That would be the most uneven event.
Be a really good podcast series to start.
I did the whole Zemeckis watch with old Blank Check a few years ago.
Yeah,
and, it's a roller coaster.
I bet.
And then
it's mostly a valley at the end.
Yeah,
deep valley. Yes.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to talk about here? For
oh my God, there's so much. We haven't talked about the style of the movie.
Yeah. Well, all right, then go for it. I'm just trying to get us back on track.
It is. I mean, like I said, it's emotion as aesthetic. It is to me, one of the most interesting looking movies of the 21st century. And I think also one of the more influential movies of the 21st century. I think it kind of created a lot of editing tendencies that other films have taken to levels that do not justify their existence. They're used rather sparingly here. Tony Scott actually used 3 editors while making this movie. He used one guy who was kind of like the movie editor guy. And then he had 2 others who are mostly commercial guys. And those are the guys who do the like when Creasy is really at his wit's end, like really emotionally charged. Those are those super like crazy crossfades, hard cutting. He's using like that hand crank camera where everything is like super exposed. And that stuff to me is exhilarating. And when the movie came out, people thought it was annoying. And
I feel like Jay, and not to cut you off, I feel like the way this movie looks, he perfected the problems I have with the way a movie like Traffic looks. Like Traffic is the
I was
inflection.
waiting for this to come up.
It's the inflection point of like all the movies looking so goddamn yellow.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like it's like every movie looks like a Coldplay song, you know, for the next 10 years. But he has a way to make it extremely interesting and elegant, as opposed to at least how I feel about Traffic, where that movie looks
I don't think this one has the Mexico tint to it quite that way.
It does. But not all the way. It's not turned all the way up. But
I don't even think it's close. And I think when it is that way, I think it's trying to communicate again an emotional center to the character.
Yes.
I mean, Ryan, just look at the screenshot you have behind you.
I know, but I could look at the post
from a movie.
I know, but even look at
they're
like
still
just
in Mexico in that scene.
I understand. There are shots in Traffic that don't look like that either.
Not in Mexico.
And yet there are multiple times in the club, or multiple times when he is killing people, or when he is doing things with this movie and the cross cutting and everything. Yes. That's what I'm trying to say. Is it's like Soderbergh just thought, man, if I made the whole thing look yellow, that'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
No,
you know what I mean?
In Traffic,
just yellow here and
explicitly to communicate
dark
different
over there.
Locations and differentiate between plot lines.
And but it's not again.
But this is such a centrifugal movie where it's just we're following one guy the whole time that you don't have to use that tactic, and so it just looks rad as hell.
Yeah, this guy fancy.
This is
centrifugal. Okay,
all right. And listeners, if you had that on your bingo card, you can scratch it off. No, I'm just kidding, Jay. No, but you understand what I'm trying to say. Like I feel like Soderbergh set the template up, and a lot of people abused it. And I feel like it comes in and out here, and it's done so effectively. And you're right, Jay. It's used to convey not just the area, but it's really to convey what's going on inside Creasy's mind. And where he's at before, after, even during some of this violence that he is doing. And even the beginning of the film, too, with certain sequences. Motion, when they're moving, when they're constantly stuff, like the way in which this camera is moving, the way he has to see things. We are living in his eye for most of the time of this movie.
And man, Tony loves a rooftop.
Oh, God damn it.
Let him on a rooftop. Let that helicopter swirl.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
And then he shoots a guy in the hand with a shotgun.
I think
which is pretty sick.
Like you do.
I mean, I think the one thing, I'm gonna just like nitpick it.
Oh, here we go. Good.
The bomb.
Tell us why it sucks. Let's go.
No, it's just like, you know, when you was adding all the things to create the bomb up the guy's ass, were Purell wipes part of that? Because I got it, like. You knocked him out really hard.
He had a glove, didn't he? Wasn't he wearing a glove?
I think so, but like
I hope so.
He did have gloves, but like, good Lord, his level of revenge is taken to a height of just extremism,
deep revenge.
Yeah,
it's biblical.
Yeah, absolutely,
and everything. But yeah, what was the line again, Jay? You're running.
I wish you had more time. It's so good. It's so, and only Denzel. Not
you'll
only,
have
but
like
the delivery of that line, the like syncopation of that line, just gives it that extra oomph that most actors would not hit, and it's just Denzel is
just
Denzel.
Oh yeah, Denzel's the master of going big and small. He's the
Yep.
best, man. And then
It's true.
actually one of the more interesting things about the film, we talk about the Scott editing, which is maybe the signature trademark of the movie, in my opinion. There's the big moment where we do get that reveal that Mark Anthony's character was sort of behind all of it. And in the editing room, Tony Scott was like, yeah, we'll do it like all through flashback so that we see, everything in flashback. And Denzel was like, man, you're getting too tricky. Like, you're doing too much here. And Tony Scott was like, you're right, Denzel.
Yeah.
Maybe
we know,
you should have
like, by
edited this movie.
By his admission, we can imagine everything that's
well, it
being
just
done.
works so much better to see the actual characters doing it. That scene, I think, is awesome. And it is largely
really
expository, but there's not a ton of this movie that's super expository because it is played with that frenetic editing where it's all about feeling rather than saying.
And it's interesting that scene in a movie filled with Denzel being a badass and being violent, I don't think he's ever scarier than in that scene where he is totally calm and he's like, here's how it's going to go. Here's how it's going to work.
The gun didn't work for me. Maybe it'll work for you. I'll pray for you.
That is the most badass. Like, and then you just hear it in the next room and it is a moment.
Denzel does a lot of walking away from gunshots and explosions in this without reacting. That is just incredible.
Again, I think a lesser actor, you'd be like, ugh, God, but it's Denzel. So you're like, I mean, the picture on my screen is literally a giant ball of fire with Denzel walking away wearing sunglasses. Like,
this movie is one of the great testaments to movie stars.
Yes,
right? Like,
true.
Throw Scott Eastwood in this movie.
Why? Come
Why
on,
the-
come on,
what-
come
what
on,
is
man.
wrong with
Why?
you?
Like
Why?
total replacement level. Throw Scott Eastwood in this.
You know
He
what
is
they
way
did?
below replacement level.
Yeah, they
Come
threw
on.
him in those Fast and Furious franchises,
Who's
and even they were like,
who's like replacement level? Mark Wahlberg.
Too talky. He's too chatty for a movie like this.
I know, but there's nobody like Denzel, I guess is the point.
I mean, so you're saying who's the guy that if you couldn't get Denzel Washington, you're not getting all the old farts that they thought about. Who's the guy that they put in here in this role and you buy it? Is that what you're trying to say?
Crow is probably the second choice, logically.
Yeah, that could work. I mean,
I'm a big fan of 2000s Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
I don't know if 2000s. I mean, I guess 2000s Russell Crowe could do this.
He was
Not
basically
as
doing
well.
this in Gladiator.
I was just going to say he's just doing it in Gladiator, so I've seen him do it
in
before.
Proof of Life, which I have not seen.
I bet it's great.
It's not.
That's the movie you will be a guest on.
The hell I will. You know what I mean? No, I'm just trying to think of like 2000s actors.
I mean, like, what if Will Smith is in this?
What if Vin Diesel's in this?
Oof.
Vin?
I mean, that's bad, obviously.
That's bad. I'm giving both. Okay. I'm not gonna say that Jay might have hit something there, but it would be fascinating to see Will Smith in this movie because this is a movie that would
he might still be too young for this particular
he might be.
role.
Well, it just increases, or I guess it then.
Jared Leto.
Oh,
Get out of here.
Get out of here. No, I think Will Smith doing this wouldn't have been a bad move. He might have been young, but then it's like, oh, you're recruited young and you saw things too much and you became a killing machine. Like he's in his 30s by that point. Like he could wash out of the military probably pretty easily, or the CIA real quick.
I just think his cool factor is like a little too polished, where Denzel has that I've seen, like regardless of age, he just has that I've seen some things, I've lived through some things. Where Will Smith at that period of his career is just kind of like that's why he works so well in the Tony Scott movie that he was in, is he has that youthful thing. Whereas here, I mean, blasphemy to say, but what about someone like Mel Gibson at this time in his career?
Would have been good.
I mean,
look, we've been over this before. Mel Gibson is one of my weak points. I think Mel Gibson is like one of the great movie stars.
It's a good thing that he has no personal issues to speak
Yeah, that's
of.
what I like too, is that he's so squeaky clean,
non-problematic.
well.
Like just
Jesus Christ, the both of you.
But I think this movie, because it feels like we're talking about like anything else we have to say. And
honestly, I got one I think would be interesting.
Go for it.
I think I'm gonna probably get yelled at for this, but I think Sean Penn would have been interesting in this role.
Oh yeah, that would work
in that era. Like,
for sure.
Not screaming, "Is that my daughter in there?" But like, I think he could play. That would be terrifying. Actually,
Bruce might have worked okay.
Willis. Yeah, I think that
if you convince,
I feel like
convince him to act.
Honestly, this movie.
But also, who cares? Denzel is so good.
I know, but what I'm saying is, it's like
anybody else is in it. It's
I
worse.
think this movie would have been a great property for anyone to do what Denzel's doing. It's like this is an action movie disguised as an elevated acting piece in a lot of ways.
So
and
this is elevated action, like elevated horror.
I think that this is elevated. Yeah, I think like.
I think this is a human drama where a bunch of people get murdered.
Yeah, but not many. 12. Come on.
Just 12. just a good old dozen.
I'm just comparing it to like John Wick and stuff. How many people did John Wick kill? 130
in the first 5 minutes.
How many people does Denzel kill in The Equalizer? Like 15. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit more than 12. You know what I mean?
Yes. So, he's working his way up.
Can we talk about the last 15 minutes?
Absolutely.
They make me cry so hard.
Jay, you told me this the other day before.
This on Father's Day, one of the great Father's Day films.
That's a good Father's Day. Yeah.
It's a good Father's Day.
I literally, you told me on Father's Day, you're like, I cried like a baby. I'm like, okay, sure. And then I put it on, and by the last 15 minutes, I'm like, God. When they're on that bridge, my video that's in the back, when they get on the bridge, I'm like,
Brian's fighting for his life.
Woo! And I was crying, and the wife walked in. What are you watching? I said, Man on Fire. She went, oh God, and then walked out of the room.
Fair.
Every woman knows. They know.
I was in the basement. I said,
I need to be alone.
Give me 3 hours with Denzel by myself.
I mean, who wouldn't want that? To be fair,
did you go up there? Did you go up there and did the wife and be like, did you really?
No, because I finished it right before we recorded a different podcast.
Yeah.
So no, there was no time.
She didn't get to see the tears.
No, she did. Recently, I was watching The Tree of Life. I just turned on The Tree of Life as I want to do.
Just a normal activity.
Yeah. And then she was like, are you crying? And I'm like, yeah, this movie makes me cry like the whole time it's on. Sorry.
It's the dinosaurs, isn't it? That's what that's it.
But no, the last 10, 15 minutes of this film, and it's such kind of a pat line to just be like, I love you, Creasy, and you love me too, right? And it's like, on paper, that stinks.
Yep.
On screen, it demolishes me.
Yeah.
And that's what a well-acted, well-directed movie is.
And I love that it doesn't go the ultra saccharine route of like, of course I love you and blah, blah, like, because that's not him. That's not who he is.
Does he even say anything? Doesn't he just say, go see your mom or something?
He nods to her and says, go to your mom, which is a perfect decision from a screenwriting perspective.
Yeah.
Yep. Because again, it doesn't lay it out for you, but he's so good, you know exactly what he's feeling in that moment. God. He doesn't have to say it. Acting is not just the lines, it's what happens in between. And there is nobody better at the in-between than Denzel Washington.
The hug that he gives her. That's what got me.
Good.
I was just like, imagine
as he's bleeding out.
No, it's like it's all over my shirt now, Denzel. No, I just was thinking about just in that moment. What made me cry was thinking about Creasy and giving her a hug, knowing his inevitability. Mm-hmm. And it's the tangible.
Oh my God! When he says, "I'm
touch.
going home just like you to the Blue Bayou," get out of here! Are you
I'm just like, oh shit! It's one of those where it's like, that's a perfect callback. Honestly, it's a perfect callback. Mm-hmm. And it's honestly what this character's wanted, but he's had, just but again, release. He's wanted this release, but again, Jay, like you're saying, they're not finished with you yet. You got more to do. and this is it. And the way he goes out, and it's just like the way he's looking out that window, and it's the sweet release at the end in the back of that car. It's a perfect way to end this thing. It's incredible. Like, again, it's a lot like
in a series where there are several sequels to the book. They were just like, nope, this is it.
This is it.
We're
This
not
is the
making
end.
a sequel. Yeah.
Well, he was in the time he didn't do sequels.
Right.
Like
Until
like
he met
Denzel,
until
Oh,
he
you're
met,
saying Denzel. Yeah.
yeah, Denzel is not a sequel guy until he's like now old enough, and then I mean he's like
until the modern classic of the
I gotta
Equalizer.
equalize. I gotta equalize.
But
Gotta
Dave, it's-
equalize again.
But Dave, it's like I told Jay, those Equalizer movies are essentially scratching the itch with the loss of Tony Scott. So like,
Yeah,
I
100%.
understand completely. He's like, yeah, and they're cheap made, and he gets to like get a big.
Travel to Italy or wherever.
He's producing
like,
them.
yeah.
He gets a ton of the money. He's working
Yeah,
with this guy Antoine Fuqua.
is kind of the
His guy.
Sam's Club Tony Scott.
I mean, he is. He's also
I feel like that's being mean to Sam's Club, but that's,
I mean,
Oh, ouch. The
Hey, listen.
Kirkland,
how much is their hot dog and drink?
yeah, I
Just
bet
saying.
it's more than $1.50.
I bet you, yeah. And that price is never changing, mofos. Let me tell you
That's
that. I saw that. I saw recently where the guy for not to like corporatize this whole show.
And
where
this
the
is
guy
brought to you by Costco.
and this is brought to you by Costco. Do you need a pizza for $10 that tastes like it just was made 5 seconds ago? With a lot of flop in that pizza anyway. Where he was like, people were like worried because obviously inflation's a real thing in this country, and he came out and he said, "Don't worry, the $1.50 hot dog and drink is going to stay the way it is." To which I said, "Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. I'll take
Yes, sir.
two.
I'll take two. Keep one of the drinks." And I
Right.
got a nice cold 5-1 for you. You know what I mean? So, but like, no, I think, yeah, I mean, like Fuqua's now is kind of like his guy, and then also too, they kind of, I mean, Fuqua really came into prominence with Training Day, and I got Denzel his second Oscar, Which, by the way, I'm just going to put this out there in the world: Denzel Washington should have a third Oscar.
He should have 5 Oscars. What are we talking about?
He should have.
He should
more.
be. He should be the Meryl Streep, where they're like, "Oh, we're sick of this guy getting Oscars, get nominated every time."
It was
and like there are times he doesn't even get nominated, and he's easily the best performance of the year.
I mean,
it's
he's
crazy.
The BAFTAs are very anti Denzel Washington, which is crazy. He's never been nominated at the BAFTAs. Never.
That's crazy. All
Never.
right, the
And he's won.
BAFTAs officially suck. I'm
Fuck
no
'em.
longer.
You know what I mean?
They're the worst. What?
Like I
Not
sit
even
there and
a
I go,
nomination?
I sit there and I go, you're not even just like nominated once, like you didn't even
Never
invite him to the club.
nominated.
He
couldn't even get in for a Shakespeare adaptation in Britain.
Right.
I mean, he was like really neck and neck with Casey Affleck for the Oscar for
I guess two
against
Shakespeare
Manchester
adaptations.
by the Sea and Fences, and even there, they're like, nope,
Nope.
nope,
Yeah, that's crazy.
that's nuts.
Yeah,
All
That's
was-
Creasy.
God damn it!
Oh,
If you're listening to this, you can leave now. It's fine.
You know that when
Yeah.
Tony Scott wanted to have a meeting with Dakota Fanning, and he reached out to her agent and was like, "Oh yeah, I'd love to meet with Dakota and her parents." And Dakota Fanning was like, "I would like to meet with Tony alone."
oh, this little badass. God bless her.
She's like, please never let me work with Tom Cruise again.
So she just had a solo meeting with Tony Scott about
Amazing.
the film, and then
Well, no, I guess War of the
Denzel-
Worlds the next year, I guess.
Denzel, and it might have just been because he was so surprised by her, but Denzel to Tony Scott at various points in the film was like, "This girl means business. What?
Yeah.
This is crazy. I don't know what's going on here. It's just she's so good. She's so
That's
good.
why she's
And-
perfect for this movie. I mean,
yeah, and the kind of like you talked about kind of the racial charge of Denzel being cast. How about this? As a proud father of a lily white son, I can say Dakota Fanning is a lily white baby, and her name is
Yes.
Lupita.
yeah, a choice.
Yeah,
Not the first visual I have with the name Lupita.
no, but it adds this like automatic.
mostly call her
level
Peta.
of-
yeah.
Pita bread, white
bread.
bread. There you go. You know?
Yeah, that works.
You're welcome, everyone. See how we got there?
This movie rules.
movie's very good. Dave, any last things you want to
say? This movie reminds me to have higher standards for genre movies.
Damn right. You know what? Good job.
I mean, I think it's so easy to be like, it's just an action movie. It's just a rom-com. It's just a comic book movie, whatever. So be happy with, basic. And then you watch an action movie like Man on Fire, and you're like, this is what we should be demanding. Actual auteurs making great, emotional, beautiful film that happens to also combine horrific violence staged well. This should be the expectation of action movies, not some Hemsworth movie on Netflix, but this is what we should be expecting.
You're talking to the Extraction
Defender
fan.
Yeah.
The Extraction Defender is logged on.
Nobody's talking to you.
But Extraction is like Extraction is no higher than even if you love that movie, it's a 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, it's perfectly fine. But this is perfect.
This
I'll ask you both.
Where people get brutally murdered.
But I'll ask you both. Who the hell directed Extraction? Yeah, that's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. Right there. You answered my question.
Joe Netflix, obviously.
But to that point, it's actually to your first point, Dave. If an auteur is making something like this,
you'll know.
And honestly, these are the type of movies that if some auteur out there decided to start making them, it would look really good. I think
they're giving some people chances. Their last names are just Russo.
Yeah, didn't they just announce they're getting like a $300 million movie now? Yeah. After they failed after the $200 million movie that they got?
Are you kidding me? The Gray Man set the world aflame.
Oh yeah, it did.
I'm still talking about Cherry. That is a movie
that existed.
You're still talking about Cherry.
They don't want you to be talking.
No, they don't want you to talk about that movie at all, Jay. No, I mean. Again, the thesis of this whole series has been like, well, is he a journeyman or is he like an auteur? He's an auteur. Mm-hmm. He's not like he's like Doug Liman or anything.
Major auteur, especially from this movie on. You can pick a Tony Scott movie out of a lineup.
Exactly.
Yeah, once he got rid of Bruckheimer's, he could actually be a real director.
He established, I think.
But even
with stuff. The Bruckheimer stuff, you're like,
Crimson Tide, I think is a real trademark movie.
Mm-hmm.
Top Gun.
I mean, Top Gun
and Days of Thunder. They're like right out of it, like brother and sister.
Those are more like
change the vehicle, baby.
Marketing than like masterpieces of art.
No, right. but he elevates those. Those
totally.
You could not ever hear from those people ever again as a director. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like honestly, gonna tell you this: Joseph Kosinski, dude. Who? Like
he's a totally functional filmmaker. Like
functional.
I think Top Gun Maverick is better than Top Gun. But it's not because of Joseph Kosinski.
It's not because of Joseph Kosinski.
But it also doesn't, not to get on that tangent, but doesn't that climb onto the shoulders of the original Top Gun?
It does.
Like without Top Gun Maverick never gets made, and the character of Maverick is already built.
Oh no, for sure.
You know what I mean? So it's better, but also like if you don't,
you can't have the other one.
Yeah, and if you don't have the Val Kilmer relationship from the original, then that emotional moment doesn't work.
Well, if you don't have
it's building off of the base that Tony Scott built.
If you don't have what is it? If you don't have Goose die, then you don't have Miles Teller. You know what I mean? And none of that relationship is developed there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that one feeds off of it, but
the nature of sequels.
It's just the nature of a sequel. It is.
I can confidently say the Alfonso Cuarón Harry Potter movie is better than the Christopher Columbus Harry Potter movie that came before it.
Yes.
I mean, you can say that Nolan's Dark Knight is better than Batman Begins or Dark Knight Rises. You know what I mean? Like sometimes the sequels are better than the original, but
But I'm never going to be the guy who says Kosinski over Scott.
No,
you're not getting me on record.
No, but I'm just saying is that like we don't have a person like that anymore.
Yeah.
I think that starts off maybe on paper as someone that is going to be a studio plug and play, but then evolves into an auteur to the standard
I
of
want to
which
see.
like
I
Tony
want to
Scott.
see
You
what
think that's even
I want to
possible
see what
anymore?
Stahelski does next.
Is that even possible anymore with streaming?
I think Jay
Like-
just said a name that I think that is actually very interesting. Chad Stahelski could be someone. He has a distinctive eye, and all three of those John Wick movies look different, and they have also a reverence of film history within inside of
Sure.
them and what
He's
they're
such a
trying to do
lover
there.
of film.
Yeah, and the way, like, I think if like Leach is clearly like getting away with the
Leach is clearly an absolute hack.
yeah, and
it keeps making money.
it keeps making money. But I
Kind
think
of.
that, but like Stahelski, like I think if you put Chad Stahelski, the director of the John Wick franchise, up on a screen, and he made a new action movie, if he made Man on Fire the series, and he directed all the episodes, or if he just made a Man on Fire movie with Yaya, right? I'd be really interested in watching that because from a visual standpoint, he knows his shit. I've got good faith in him. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
I will say all the Stahelski stuff, all the stuff he's attached to is IP stuff.
yeah. What's he attached to?
So this is older. In February 2020, so the stuff within the last year he's been kind of attached to is stuff like Highlander, Rainbow Six, Ghosts of Tsushima, the video game.
Oh, that would be awesome.
That actually would be
would be
sick.
pretty
Ghost of
good.
Tsushima with Stahelski.
Ooh.
Dude, give me 9 tickets to that. Let's go.
Dave's renting out the theater if it gets to wherever he's living in Kentucky.
Yeah,
As
if
of,
If I need that movie to be a $600 million budget so it makes it to my hometown.
yes.
It looks like what he's maybe focusing on is Highlander.
That could be interesting.
Sure.
Make its own thing. Like honestly, like that's a world that could easily be explored.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And they made a bunch of crappy sequels, so why not?
The quickening. Yes.
Oh my God, that's right. Jay,
Yes.
before we get out of here, we're going to test your award season knowledge based on the film we just reviewed, which was Man on Fire. In a segment we like to call It's an Honor to Get Nominated. Jay, now Dave, you don't have to answer this for him if you already know the answer, so just don't. We're trying to help Jay here. He's our resident Oscar expert here at AwardsWatch, but we like to challenge him because we like to keep him on his toes, obviously.
Sure.
Jay, was Man on Fire nominated for any Academy Awards?
This is what happens when you have me come in and pick the director. Not a lot of Oscar nominations. I'm assuming no. I looked at the Rotten Tomato score, 39%.
How?
Egregious, unforgivable.
This is what happens when you take risks. People are not
Tony Scott
ready
really was.
for Tony
I really do
Scott.
think he was about 10 years too early, starting
Agreed.
around.
But does that 10 years
Really
happen
this.
without Tony Scott? He's so
Exactly.
like he affected the action world so much. I don't know if we get to where
It's
we
kind
get
of the
without him.
Wachowskis thing.
They've been reevaluated, like their Matrix
Where, like-
sequels and
Well, so is Tony.
and Speed Racer. Yeah, no. I'm not disagreeing with you, but a 39%.
Yeah,
you
it's
watch
wild.
this. You watch
That's
this movie, and you
criminal.
think that's. I mean, I could get 60. I can honestly,
Sure,
I can
sure.
understand 60%. Maybe if you're
39.
50, 39. That's
No,
just
but I'm kind of with you. I'm like, if I'm a traditional film critic who's used to like whatever, anything, whatever. This has beats that are recognizable to like classic traditional cinema, not necessarily the most challenging cinema. It's emotional, but people just really stuck on the editing and the violence.
Yeah,
Is
blinded
really
by
what
blood.
they-
They couldn't deal.
39.
Losers.
That's terrible.
So was it 0? Was it really 0?
Oh, that is the correct answer. Yes, Jay, you are correct. It was nominated for one significant award throughout the award season. It was nominated at the Critics' Choice Awards
Okay.
for Best Young Actress for
nice.
Dakota Fanning, but she did not win.
Oh God, who
Oh,
beat her?
no.
This is gonna hurt.
Okay. All right.
Was this
So this was the year. This is the lineup. All right, you ready?
Okay.
So Dakota Fanning was nominated for Man on Fire. Emma Watson was nominated for Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban,
okay?
which feels like a cheat because they've had 2 other goddamn films to do that.
Quite good, but she's a very big part of that movie in particular.
Yes.
Sure.
Lindsay Lohan for Mean Girls,
Good performance.
which is kind of stupid because they had Parent Tref.
But also,
you know,
was she that young then?
she's like
Yeah,
I think it's like 18 and below or something like that.
Oh God, that's a big range.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what I don't.
You're probably
21
right.
and below or something like. I guess I don't know. Emily Browning for A Series of Unfortunate Events, and the winner
Oh no.
was Emmy Rossum for The Phantom of the Opera.
No way. That
Sing
movie
to me, my
sucks.
angel of music.
That movie sucks balls. That's terrible. that might be the worst performance of the bunch. Ugh.
I don't know. Browning's not really particularly good in A Series of Unfortunate Events. Though Watson, she's really good in Azkaban.
Rossum is actively bad in that movie. I like Emmy Rossum as an actress, but she's actively bad in that movie.
I say
I've
I
never
might.
seen that movie.
I'd either give it
Awful.
that to Fanning or I give it to Lohan for Mean Girls. But the fact that also, by the way, you're going to nominate Lindsay Lohan for Mean Girls, but was Rachel McAdams not eligible to
She
be
was
nominated?
much older.
I
than
think she
Lohan.
was
Much
older.
older?
Okay.
Yeah, I think she was probably past the 18.
That's like an Oscar nomination that should have happened, by the way, that year. That was ridiculous.
Yeah, she's 8 years older.
great
than Lindsay
movie.
Lohan.
This was the year, Jay. This was 2000, and this movie came out in 2000. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I'm right. Correct. I'm sorry. I got mixed up here for a second.
Are you apologizing yourself for being
I'm apologizing
right
myself
now?
for being right.
Never
at the
doubt
initial and
myself.
Never doubt myself. Don't do it. This was the year of $1 Million Baby, The Aviator, Finding Neverland, Ray,
Ugh.
and Sideways.
Finding Neverland and Ray. What a
I'll take gun to my head. I'll take Finding Neverland. This is
Says
interesting.
everything
Good,
you need to know.
good performances.
Yeah.
Like I can get away with
So-
good. Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, no one's lip singing in that movie.
Yeah. Why do you hate Jamie Foxx so much? What's that about?
I don't hate him. I would kick him out for Ray, and I would bump him actually up into this category and put his performance in
Collateral
Collateral.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
That's the much better performance that he gets nominated in
not
supporting,
close.
which
Yeah.
he's not a supporting character, and he's the lead. Cruz is supporting. If you want to go that way, I think
Look, you
it's more of a
can't.
co-lead.
You
but,
yelled
you know.
at me for bringing up category fraud, and here you are.
I'm
the
just-
muck with Dave.
I'm but yeah, if you wanted to nominate Denzel Washington, you have Jamie Foxx for Ray, you have Don Cheadle for Hotel Rwanda, you have Johnny Depp for Finding Neverland, Leonardo DiCaprio for The Aviator, and you have Clint Eastwood for $1 Million Baby. This is also the year where Paul Giamatti does not get in for
That's so crazy.
for Sideways,
That's
or
bizarre.
like Jude Law doesn't get in for Closer.
I always forget
Jim Carrey
that he didn't
for
get that
Eternal
for
Sunshine,
Sideways.
you
Like
know.
in my brain, that's his nomination. Not what was it, Cinderella Man? That's what he got nominated for. Like, makes
Who?
no sense to me.
Who, Giamatti? Yeah.
Giamatti,
And
yeah.
and then and that's like the next year, but then he loses to Clooney for Syriana.
Whatever.
Yeah. And then he just lost to Cillian Murphy, which he
He lost to a buzzsaw. I mean, that it's just
he lost to one of the great performances of the last.
He's so
Pretty
good
incredible.
in the holdovers though.
He's
he
great.
is
in
also
the-
absolutely
he is, but it's like
wrong year. Just
he,
the wrong
he
year.
I think he will get an Oscar.
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti
I mean,
will get an Oscar.
Maybe if he stops doing like horror movies and nonsense, like
yeah,
he
what
did
the hell is he
Oscar,
doing? He's doing like
He's doing the opposite of what you do after you
doing
get
like
an Oscar
Saw,
nom.
right? No, he's
Yeah.
doing Hostel. That's what it is. Hostel.
Yeah.
And I'm
yeah.
like, what the hell are you doing? You played like a really nice teacher to being like what? Like you're gonna get like your skin peeled
Well, he did
off
that.
by
What was
a,
that
you know-
TV show he did for so long?
Oh, he did Billions.
Billions.
Yeah, he was on that show forever.
Supposed to be great.
That's
Never
where he met
watched
his
it.
girlfriend, and his
'Cause it's
girlfriend
TV.
his girlfriend
TV.
on that show plays actually a character that is a dominatrix, and his character is into S&M. And so
84 episodes.
good for him.
Good for him. Get yours, Paul.
Yeah, get you. Art imitates life. But
Hey, no
Would you-
judgment.
but would you
Live
guys
your life?
would you guys throw Denzel Washington into this field?
Yeah,
for
I would. I mean,
nomination?
I'm
Oscar
looking, so I pulled up the Oscar nominations, and let's throw out some flamethrowers right now. I like this better than every Best Picture nominee. I like Tony Scott's direction more than every Best Director nominee. I like Leonardo DiCaprio's performance than every Best Actor nominee. I would give Dakota Fanning a supporting actress performance nomination.
Who would you kick out? Probably everybody.
Just one nominee. That's it.
Just the little girl made me cry.
I don't know. I mean, Natalie Portman's whatever and closer.
Whoa!
All right, we are fighting. We're officially fighting now.
It's a little rough.
Forever. It has been forever since I've seen that.
I'd probably kick Laura Linney out for Kinsey. It's just like a movie that.
Yeah, she's like exactly.
Like
what
I
she
love
needs
Laura
to be in
Linney,
that movie,
but that's like a nothing performance.
She's exactly what she needs to be, but it's not incredible.
I wouldn't do adapted screenplay. No.
I would give it a nom. I wouldn't put it over Sideways.
No. Would you not? And so, yeah, I would take Taylor Hackford out, and I would consider Tony Scott for director.
Sure.
But this is also like this is an insane year. This is like Glazer with Birth, and then this is like Eternal Sunshine, and then there's
I'm saying of the people that were nominated.
Yeah. No, I know. And then there's like Tarantino for Kill Bill 2, and there's a bunch of shit that wasn't nominated. It's ridiculous.
Decent year.
It's a pretty good, like this is before Sunset.
Oh, I mean, you go below the line, editing for sure. This is like a revolutionary movie.
Yeah, I mean, like I would kick out Ray for editing
for everything.
I think $1 Million Baby makes sense. Collateral was nominated. That's a great nom. Finding Neverland was nominated. The winner was The Aviator. That makes kind of sense too. That movie is edited to a T. But I
really want to watch that movie again now.
It's I'm telling you, very rewatchable movie for me. I put that. It's weirdly a movie about a man with OCD, and I find it as like a comfort rotation. Weirdly enough,
you just keep watching it over and over.
Come in with the milk. Come in with the milk. Come in with the milk.
I like Man on Fire a lot.
I like Man on Fire a lot too. I think I would nominate Denzel Washington. I don't understand how this is 39%. Did Raj like this?
He gave it like 2.5, I believe.
I think what we also tend to forget is that in the last 20 years, criticism has changed a lot. There are a lot of people now who grew up watching genre film who have a deep respect for it that are critics now. If we could wipe this from existence and have it come out exactly as it is, I mean, this is at a minimum 75% to 80. Like just the whole idea of film criticism, I think, has undergone a pretty radical change in the last 2 decades. So it doesn't actually surprise me. It angers me, but it doesn't surprise me that the score is that low. But if you made a movie like this now, I don't think that. I mean, look at the John Wick movies. Look at how well reviewed those are. Like,
well, we're also in a state now where,
and this is better than all of those movies.
Rotten Tomatoes wants their reviewers to give good reviews for movies, so they take a lot of people in who are lenient, and we can get into the military industrial complex of Rotten Tomatoes if we want.
I mean, isn't Ryan in there? I mean, good gracious.
Yeah, no kidding.
Jay's there too. So are you, Dave. We're all there now.
I mean, I'm there under.
Oh, don't even.
Sites.
Don't
it's
even.
Not me.
Don't. It's not me.
It's only InSession. It's only InSession.
I'm just a cog in the machine, man.
Look, I can't send something to some random place and they would take it for Rotten Tomatoes.
You're such a hypocrite.
I am innocent.
No, but like, okay. So if you look at it, I'm gonna take everything from 2006.
They'll take anybody.
No, because like that's when really like the damn you, Jay. That's when like really right, like that's what you're saying. Like let's say 2006, because like 2004, 2005, that's probably when all the markets got to finally see this, right? Mm-hmm. All right, so 2006 to now, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 fresh reviews. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rotten reviews. Jeez. So that's literally around the same amount, right?
Yeah.
I mean, look, it is a.
I'm gonna have to write a review.
It's even worse. Yeah, Jay, you're gonna have to go and write a review, or we're gonna have to do a retro.
I'm gonna have to
I
write a
will-
class.
Technically,
review for InSession. Like,
next year is the 20th anniversary. Or no, this year is, right?
this year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When did it come out?
2004.
Is that July? This came out in July?
Damn it, it already passed. Yeah, it came out in April.
Oh, it came out in April.
Damn
what a
it.
terrible time to release
What a
this
weird
movie.
time.
Yeah.
That is a stupid time to release this movie.
Especially back then, yeah. I
Why didn't this movie come out in June?
But I mean,
racism.
even think about showing this to a person now, like a person who's not a Tony Scott fan. Just
I did this. Okay.
a person who is like,
You did this?
Yeah, my wife watched it
I
for the
liked
first time.
Top Gun Maverick. What are other action movies you could show me? Man on Fire is one that I'd like to show you. I don't know. I mean, Dave, tell me your experience with this particularly. My wife is actually a big fan of this movie, and I would say she is a quote unquote normie in that
Right.
regard, but she likes this a lot. So you know, it's
Yeah.
interesting, but it is challenging. It's violent. It's long,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah, I mean, I watched it with my wife who had never seen it and maybe has never seen a Tony Scott movie. Like she's not like before meeting me was like she's one of those people that would watch like 2 movies every 3 years. Like she's not a movie person.
Right,
And of course in like the last 4 years she's watched like 900 movies because she lives with me. And
in
she
many
enjoyed
ways, it is such a blessing being married to someone who is not a lunatic.
It's
like
actually nice because it allows me to understand what the general public
Agreed.
does.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, you don't know these people like the back of your hand. Cool, interesting. Okay, that's a whole different
It
experience.
also just makes me have to talk to you guys because my wife's like, I don't want to talk to you about any of this shit.
Oh, I know.
Well,
I
talk
remember.
with
I
your
remember one
friends.
time I was like,
we thank her for her service.
Yeah,
yeah.
That way we
You know
get
what?
to talk to you.
You know
That's
what?
good. No,
Yeah.
I'm saying I get to talk to you, and I'm grateful for her.
I'm sure that's not a
So-
backhanded compliment, Dave.
It's the only kind I give, and you know it. But she watched it and she enjoyed it. And it was definitely an experience that was like, if Denzel isn't in this, there's no way she would have finished watching.
Yeah, but I mean, like that's
he is.
that's the angle to
So.
get in the door is that it's Denzel Washington. You know
Well, I
what
mean, that's how I convinced her. Was like,
Yeah.
okay, it's an action movie, and I know that's not your thing, but it's Denzel. And she's like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And
It's such
enjoyed
that's
it.
intense emotional core to it too. I mean, my wife likes this movie, and then when I put on Domino, she was like,
Get me out of here.
I have
God, that woman
TikTok to
is
watch.
so smart.
Well, it's like my wife doesn't like westerns, but if like when I was
But
like, hey,
Magnificent Seven
no,
with Denzel.
no, but like it was like I was telling her I was like, I want to. I'll get to my recommendation here later, but I'll use another film as an example. I really wanted to watch Tombstone a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, she was like, "Oh, it's a western." I'm like, "Yeah, but it's got this person and this person and this person and this person and this person." And if I'm able to get a laundry list of enough people that she knows, then she'll go, "Yeah, I'll give it a try." And then she
And that
loved it.
movie's so fun too.
God
like
damn, that movie's
that's way
incredible.
more of a like summer action flick than it is a
That movie shouldn't
typical western.
That movie is so much fun. Like Jay, I don't know.
Miracle.
Jay, you've
Still
not
haven't
seen
it.
that.
That's
Jay, you gotta watch it. You gotta
What?
watch it.
I don't know.
Oh
I think
man,
that talk about a movie of just like dude vibes the entire
Hell's
way
coming
through.
with me. Let's
Yeah.
go.
It's on the queue.
I'm your
and then,
Huckleberry.
and then I'll come back.
Move
every
it
week
up.
And I'm like, oh, I watched the least seen movie in X director's filmography. I'll never get to talk about it with anyone ever. Still haven't seen Tombstone though.
Jeez,
you gotta-
get on
you gotta-
that.
you gotta
for
add
real.
it in
That
there,
is a
Jay.
really
Ghost
really
directed
fun
by
watch.
Kurt, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
basically, yeah.
it's basically Kurt Russell. And honestly, if he ghost directed it, he ghost directed the shit out of that movie. It is
It's really
wild.
impressive.
Yeah, he should step behind the camera again. I know he's older now, but
Like honestly, a perfectly paced movie.
Yeah.
That movie.
it's like 2 hours
moves.
long.
That's-
It is. It's
I
It
think
feels
I think
like
it's pretty
100
long. I
minutes.
think it's
Like,
longer
it's-
than that.
no, like the Costner one is 3 hours, and that
Yeah,
is a
wider.
slog of a movie to get to. Like it's
Who's
like
excited for Horizon? No? Okay. All right. One
I'm not
person.
sure
Good.
about part 1, but I'm stoked for part 2.
I'm
There's gonna
actually
be
more.
4.
I'm actually more of a part 4 guy. I like
There you go.
I like conclusions to my sagas. Maybe part 3 because it's like the risky one. You know what I mean?
Right. It's like the Empire Strikes Back of the Horizon series.
Yeah, it's like the thunder. It's like the Thunderdome
You know, would watch. It sounds
You know what?
great.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh my God. Anyway, Dave, you put up with us long enough on this episode. Thank you so much for being here. Can you
Yeah.
tell everybody where we can find you and all your work on the internet?
Yeah, absolutely. You can find me on Twitter, hating on Paddington, as you brought up, at Darn That Dave. And you can find my podcast, Pop Culture Case Study, which is basically combining movies and psychology. So this week we're coming out with an episode on Thief, and we're taking a look at the effect of prison after you leave prison. So that's our kind of thing there. And you can follow that show at Pop Case Study.
Dave, always the best to have you on. One of my
Thanks, man.
favorite friends. And hopefully we'll get you on the calendar for something soon.
Yeah, you got to write it. I got to write it in blood.
We got to write it out.
Showing up.
Such an old man now. He didn't remember anything. He's like, where did I put it? I put it in the Post-it somewhere around here.
Thank God for Google Calendar, man. I would be lost without it.
Favorite app, Google Calendar. I'm an old man. I had to get these prescription glasses out. Dave, also, real quick, do you have like a movie right now that you would want to recommend people watch or see?
Anything you've liked that you watched
anything
recently?
that you watched recently? It does not have to be like a 2024 film. It can be anything.
It is a 2024 film, and you know what it's going to be because you already mocked me online about it.
Oh, that's true.
And it is the Bike Riders, which I instantly fell in love with.
Really?
Highly recommend. Maybe my favorite movie of the year.
Interesting.
So go see the Bike Riders in theaters. Get Jeff Nichols an actual success theatrically. Let's get it. And also, you should check out Ryan's interview with Jeff Nichols, which is wonderful. Check that out as well.
Well, look at him. You know, just
cross promotion.
Yeah, God, what a guest! God, I'm buttering my bread.
If he could show up, he would be great.
Jay, same stuff.
Yeah, lead with Letterboxd. Follow me on Letterboxd, J Ledbetter, on Twitter at Mr. J Ledbetter. Anything I'm doing otherwise, AwardsWatch. Movie recommendation of the week. How about recommendations? Thematically tied. I just talked about how occasionally I'll watch the least popular film in a director's filmography. I'm doing a little Joe Dante side project right now.
Oh, for God's sakes.
So I'm filling in my Joe Dante blind spots.
So I love just hearing Ryan's like honest to God, like
I'm just
exasperation.
Again, I just sit here and I go, "You're gonna watch Joe Dante movies instead of just watching like Tombstone or like." A couple months ago was like I hadn't seen Network or I hadn't seen a couple years ago was Butch Cassidy.
Joe Dante rocks. First of all,
yeah, that's fair. I mean, sure,
but yeah. So I watched two Joe Dante films that I will recommend. One I will recommend a little more heartily than the other, although the one that I'll recommend a little less voraciously is more interesting in many ways than the one I like more. Are you familiar with a film called Hollywood Boulevard?
No.
So this was it was co-directed by Joe Dante, came out in 1976.
Okay.
Directed or produced by Roger Corman, and the movie was made on a bet between Roger Corman and another producer to see who could make a theatrically released film for the least amount of money. So this film had a budget of $55,000.
Oh.
And they used a lot of like footage from their other movies to fill in the blanks of this kind of like very loose script, but it also holds together in a really interesting way and is sort of, I described it on Letterboxd as like Roger Corman's self-critical like Last Action Hero style movie. Okay. It's crass, it's juvenile. There's an exorbitant amount of nudity in the film.
Sounds good.
And
we're here.
I had a good time with it. I think
sounds like my kind of show.
Yeah, 3 for 3.
It is like a total 3-star. It's very interesting. Will hold your attention. Zany, 82 minutes. Hello.
Okay, let's go.
Oh,
Go
God,
check
here
out
we
Hollywood
go.
Boulevard. It's
82 minutes.
it's a really
Barely
really
a movie.
Barely a freaking movie that's like a long episode of
$55,000.
Game of Thrones.
It made $1 million. It made $1 million. So,
It made $1 million.
yeah.
That's
55
actually
grand made $1 million.
That's pretty good.
That's a good
Yeah,
multiplier.
it is.
$55,000, the sushi budget for Robert Downey Jr. one day on the set of Iron Man. Yeah,
Exactly. The other Joe Dante movie I watched, which I had never seen before, is Matinee. Y'all seen Matinee?
A classic.
No, I actually
Yes.
haven't seen Matinee.
I like Matinee a lot. Yeah, very.
The John Goodman one, right?
Yes, yeah. John
Yeah.
Goodman plays sort
Right.
of the Alfred Hitchcock wannabe, master of thrills.
Should
And
I
it
only
is-
watch that movie during the day?
Boo,
yeah,
boo.
you're only allowed to watch it during the day.
Ryan, I think you'd like that movie a lot, actually.
Yeah?
It's a good one.
It's really good. I mean, I think Joe Dante is super talented when you really kind of leave Joe Dante to his own devices, and he does have, again, this like self-reflective lens on everything and such an appreciation for film history, and you can tell what he loves when you watch his movies, which is very apparent in Matinee especially. And it's a film that's about B monster movies and also the nuclear holocaust. So, you know, it's
My favorite thing. Those are my favorite things.
it's really good. I
Who
had
doesn't love a
really good time
Holocaust,
with
right?
Matinee.
The nuclear one? Sign me up. Sign me
I'm
up.
glad you corrected that.
Yeah, I knew. Yeah, I was helping you out there.
So I'm
I
excited
tell you,
to-
not all of them are winners sometimes, folks, and you just got to help a friend out.
I'm excited to watch the rest of the Dantes as well. He's more than Gremlins, folks.
Yeah, that's a fun watch.
Yeah.
Dante kind of underrated. It's
I agree. I
Solid
think he has a
director.
real voice.
One day
It's
I'll
very
go down.
unique
One day I'll
filmmaker.
go down that rabbit hole. Just
You've seen the Gremlins.
It's a shame. It's a shame that you don't
Yeah.
have like a podcast that would really help you.
Unfortunately,
Do
Have you
that.
seen
Yeah.
Ryan? Have you seen Gremlins 2?
The
No.
new batch?
no.
Gremlins 2 is like a near masterpiece. It is
Yeah?
so good.
I think I remember seeing Gremlins young, and I thought it was fine.
Gremlins
So-
rules. Gremlins 2 might be even better, but I
need-
freaking love Gremlins.
I need to
2,
rewatch them.
Gremlins
I'm gonna add them to the
1,
list.
comma.
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, or McQuade77. You can find all my work, including my interview with Jeff Nichols for the Bike Riders at AwardsWatch.com. Also, we're going to do cross promotion. Former guest during the Tony Scott movie series, JD Durant, who works with Dave over in Session Film, he did an interview with Jeff Nichols. That was a great conversation. Honestly,
better.
honestly, I'm going to give the nod to JD because like it's been a mission for that man to talk to him about Midnight Special.
Finally
and how
did it.
important that, and he finally did it. You know, they're both special in both ways. Mine with Nichols is an Austin guy, so we got to do it in person. That was pretty cool too. So both interviews really great. I said where I'm at on Twitter. Okay, yes, back on track. All right. If you like podcasts, we do one every Monday. It's the Awards Watch podcast that's released out to you because this is released on Thursday. 5-star reviews on iTunes and Spotify. We greatly appreciate it. While you're over on the website, sign up for the newsletter. It's the best place to get all of our news, reviews, interviews, podcasts, all sent to you twice a week. And again, that's over at awardswatch.com. My recommendation for the week, Dave kind of beat me to talking about it, and we made a little bit of a joke earlier, but right now it's the time of the cause. And I gotta say this about the cause. I'm rooting for him. I am, because the man seems super sincere about making these little westerns.
He's a weird guy.
He's a weird guy, but I feel he feels very sincere about this, and so it made me do the deep dive into his own filmography, and I watched the 3 films that he's done before, and Dances with Wolves still a very uneven film for me. The Postman is an insanely stupid movie that shouldn't exist. It's so bad. It's actually one of those. It's so bad. It's actually quite interesting.
Good book.
Also written by, I believe, the screenwriter for Man on Fire, if I'm not mistaken. And then his best movie, because I haven't seen Horizon yet, but his best movie is a movie called Open Range that he directed with that stars Costner and Robert Duvall. and
Home
Annette
on
Bening.
the Range? Is it the one with the Disney movie with the
No. It's about
This
it's
guy.
about this son of a,
How do you
this
work
guy.
with this?
I don't know. Could have fired him years ago.
Roseanne?
No, this one is where Costner and Duvall are cattle guys, and they're sort of labeled as free grazers. And one of their guys, they essentially gets killed in this small town, and they have to avenge his death. It's almost very much like Costner's Unforgiven in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
But what elevates it is really Costner giving the attention to Duvall's character more than it is his own character. There's obviously Annette Bening having like sort of a relationship with him in the film is really great. But I will tell you this, gentlemen, if you like endings, if you like shootouts in a Western, the last 35 minutes of this movie are some of the best modern day Westerns from since like the 2000s that we've gotten. And Costner directs the hell out of them. Michael Gambon's the bad guy. It's got what you need. It's a good, damn solid movie. I would recommend watching it. Came out, I believe, 2004 as well.
It's so good.
It's such a good movie, and and it doesn't have a Blu-ray release, which is insane. It really should. Yeah. Really pretty movie. Really great action movie.
I think Home on the Range does have a Blu-ray release.
Well, that's fair. Maybe did Joe Dante do that one too? Are you going to watch who directed Home on the Range? Quick.
Who cares?
No, actually, I need to know this now. He's
sort
gonna.
of the-
It also
it's sort of
kills the bit too when you know
I'll tell you what
he's
else
doing
it
this.
killed. 2D animation.
Yes. God damn it.
So Home on the Range was directed by a pair of filmmakers, Will Finn and John Sanford. Will Finn looks like a fairly prolific animator. Although it looks like he wasn't allowed to direct much after Home on the Range.
Yeah, shocking.
Probably. when you kill a subsect of your own animated genre, like I don't
usually
think
a bad sign.
Usually, you're not getting checks from people in Hollywood anymore. You know what
he's
I mean?
getting credits like additional animator on Kung Fu Panda: Secrets of the Masters, like bonus feature on.
Well, I bet
DVD.
WB would, they'd hire him.
Well, actually, now that it's funny you say that he's a Tom and Jerry regular.
Oh, there you go. I just felt like James Gunn could have hired him for like some cinematic universe work. You know what I mean?
It sounds like Zaslav would love him. That's just
Zaslav, what a cuddly bear. Anyway,
oh my god,
just like
Home on the Range never would have seen the light of day if Zaslav wasn't.
Yeah, around. That file would have been deleted. That's for sure. Next week we'll be back. We'll be continuing our Tony Scott series. We're going to be talking about Domino.
Roseanne Barr, Judi Dench, Jennifer Tilly, Cuba Gooding Jr., Randy Quaid, and Steve Buscemi.
It sounds like half the people you just described don't exist anymore. Yeah. Thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you all next time.